Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG55 Live. I am joined by the Italiano. I am joined by the one and only Slimer. We're taking your questions today on OG55 Live. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another live episode of OG55. We're answering all your questions. It's a stacked Ask Us Anything live show today. I have these two gentlemen, these fine gentlemen with me today, helping me out, answering all your questions. I'm going to start off with you, Slimer. It is good to have you back on the channel, sir.
All right. Hey, OG. Good to be back. Thank you for having me again. I feel like it's been forever since I've been doing a live show, but then when I checked, it was like last week. Yeah. But anyway, I'm glad to be here. Hey, thanks for everybody being in the chat. We got really good questions already set up today. You guys, I'm going to go ahead and do my social drop. It is SlimesCore84 on Twitter, and you can catch me right here on Orange Grove 55 with these two handsome studs.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And all these dollars got commas that come with commas behind them. And all my slammers be slamming them. And all my slammers be slamming them. And all my slammers be slamming them. And all my slammers be slamming.
You're officially in, Slimer. You're officially in. We got the Italiano with a new camera angle to show off that sexy Italiano chest hair. It's good to see you, sir.
Thanks again for having me on. It's always a good time.
Giving the ladies what they want, huh? With the
I have to. You got to do it for the ladies. Got to do it. It's a small sacrifice, but someone has to do it.
Right, exactly. If you can let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And, of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There we go. Because you're so sexy, Jordan, I'm going to throw a couple coins at you. There you go. There we go. And one more. All right. Nice. Let's rock and roll, boys. Okay, so googam32. Can Disney bring the Doctor and Ladybug to the parks now that Disney co-owns Doctor Who and Miraculous? Now, I honestly am not too familiar with Doctor Who. I've never even heard of Ladybug, to be quite honest with you. But from what I understand, and Slimer and George, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they co-own it. I believe it's a licensing arrangement that that Disney has done with the BBC or whatever.
Correct.
Is that correct, George?
That's correct. Yeah.
So, I mean, technically they could, though, Googam. I mean, obviously they already have a working relationship with, the BBC, for Doctor Who and all that.
The only issue with doing that is I would, if they were to go that route, probably do something a little more temporary and flexible.
Right.
Just
like
because,
a meet and greet?
Yeah, because if you do something a little more permanent, that's going to cost a lot more money. You might run into the issue that so far they haven't had, knock on wood, with the Twilight Zone as part of the Tower of Terror, because that is also licensed out because Disney owns no rights to that. That's just a dual partnership that at any point in time, if they want to bow out of not renewing the agreement and the license expires, then there goes the Twilight notion of the Tower of Terror.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the Bluey rights, like Disney has a working arrangement with the creators of Bluey to have Bluey on their platform, but there's no ownership there. It's even like the Universal right, like Universal has the theme park rights to Marvel, but they have no ownership at all with Marvel. But what are your thoughts on that, Slimer?
I mean, I guess it could. They'd probably have to rework the licensing agreement. The licensing agreement probably stipulates, their ability to do X, Y, and Z, and anything outside of that has to be renegotiated. It's a possibility, but we'll see. I mean, the money has to be there. So,
yeah, it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to do like a meet and greet, or even like some sort of Halloween thing with with those characters. I mean, it'd be kind of cool. Maybe, you never know. But yeah, in terms of any kind of permanent thing, probably not. It seems like Disney's kind of trying their best, at least with their parks, to get out of that licensing kind of arrangements. I think the Tower of Terror, I think is really the only thing left. Or maybe Rock and Roller Coaster too, but yeah, it seems like they're trying to keep their stuff in-house more and more now than ever. Mr. T.S. Wade, sorry for this, but will Pixar and Walt Disney Animation Studios survive after a few flops, and will they be successful again? Cool. T.S. Wade, go ahead, George.
Oh, sorry. Do you mind if I start off this one?
No, yeah, go ahead.
Cool. T.S. Wade, first of all, thanks for your question. It's a really, really good one, and thanks for your contribution always to the channel. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
We actually were touching upon this on one of our last recordings, I believe, with Mr. Jay Shearer, friend and collaborator of the channel. Me personally, when it comes to the current state of animation, I don't really think it's necessarily a flop in the sense that the story is not good. I feel like they are strong stories. I feel like the animation is good. Right. I feel like that the characters are good. I think it's more so a couple of things. It's more so of the budget that is being reined in on these films, and also to the notion that a lot of people just aren't going into the theaters anymore. Right. And OG had touched upon it when we were recording with Jay, that if you take a movie like Ratatouille or Up or even WALL-E, they're great films. They did banger in the movie theaters. But in today's time and age, I really don't think that they would have pulled the numbers of what they did back in the early 2000s.
People say there's all this brand withdrawal from Disney and Pixar animation, and I'm just not seeing it. Look, the profit margins are different than demand, right? So Illumination is seen as this Illumination and DreamWorks are seen as this amazing success story, not because they're raking in dough. The actual final numbers for a lot of these Illumination movies is not that great. The only reason they're considered hits is because those movies were like shoestring budgets, like $75-80 million to make. So, but the overall amount, the butts that they're putting in seats is not that much more than the Disney and Pixar movies. The difference, though, is that Disney movies are more expensive. So Disney's not making their money back. Illumination is. But demand, I mean, technically Wish has made more at the box office than Migration right now, except Migration's actually in the black, and Wish, I don't think so. I think it still actually hasn't even broke even from what I understand. Mm-hmm. So that's the issue there. So I agree with George. It's not a quality thing. It's not like people are like refusing to see Disney animation or Pixar movies. It's just that these budgets are too high, and Disney is very much aware of that, and they are addressing that, which is why, sadly, we just heard the announcement that Pixar is going to be laying off like up to 20% of its workforce within the next year, which also I got to give Alia, friend of the channel, credit again. The reason why these Disney movies are more expensive, a big part of it is because they keep their animation in the US. Illumination and a lot of other studios do everything overseas, or a lot of it overseas. So that's why it's cheaper. It's more expensive to pay American artists in the US than it is if you go overseas. So kudos to Disney for keeping the animation houses in the United States, but it comes at a cost. And hopefully they're able to kind of like finagle it where they can keep it in the US, in California, especially because that's where Disney was born, in Burbank, Southern California. Hopefully they can kind of juggle this where they can cut costs, be profitable while keeping the studio intact out here in California. But Slimer, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think Pixar and Disney will survive after a string of flops, or not so much?
Yeah, T.S. Wade too. Thanks for your question, and again, thanks for your contributions as always. We really like you in the chat, and we got Lord Jonathan up. Lord Jonathan is up next. But hey, listen, yeah, they're going to be okay, man. They're going to make the adjustments necessary so that way they can float the budgets needed to be able to continue to pay employees that live in California. You got to remember, the artists that live in Burbank, California, live in one of the most expensive places to live in the United States. So, that was one of their initial reasons that they wanted to move the entire studio over to Lake Nona. That would have really cut down on animation costs. And, that might be worth revisiting in another discussion and maybe try to assess whether that was the best decision or whether them staying in Burbank is a better decision. So there's definitely a good discussion there. But yeah, I think they'll be fine, man.
Yeah, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. I mean, look, the studio, Disney has been through a lot of like Disney has hit rock bottom quite a few times in its history. You know, in the '80s they were kicked out of their studio. They were working out of like bungalows when they were animating movies like The Little Mermaid and things like that. And they rose up from that, and we got into like the Renaissance era with these amazing movies like Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King. Disney has gone through these ebbs and flows. It's a 100-year-old studio, Wade. There's going to be downturns. It's impossible for every single studio to just be a hit maker all the time and never have like a period of a lull. It's going to happen. So this is maybe a lull in it, and they will emerge and be fine. So yeah, there's a lot of doom and gloom out there, but you also got to be careful when you see that stuff on YouTube or Twitter. A lot of that is engagement farming, you know, and stuff like that. It's not always the reality on the ground. So Pixar and Disney will be absolutely fine, 100%. Mr. Lord Jonathan is in the house. Question from a person, a fan of the classic films: should Disney release them to movie theaters like Fox Classic, South Pacific, and more, and stop doing original movies since Ahsoka will have more as Gods and more? Well, the thing is, Lord Jonathan, they're actually re-releasing some of these Pixar movies into theaters right now. Like right now, I think Soul is in theaters, and it's not really doing that good. Now, I don't know what the overhead was in terms of putting it into theaters. Obviously, I would imagine they have to pay these theater chains to secure the theater space. I'm sure there's a price tag to that. I don't know what that is. But I don't even think Soul hit $1 million this weekend. I mean, that's pretty bad. Now, it's a re-release. It wasn't like this is like Soul has already made money through Disney Plus and things like that. So it's not like, the stakes aren't like as high as it would be if it didn't do any of that. But
and I think knowing Disney, I think they might have already put it in their minds to kind of say like this wasn't a guaranteed financial success. Correct. I think maybe this was kind of a like a tester ground for them to see how well these movies do, like re-released in the theater. So they probably already had somewhat of a budget put aside for what you had just described, OG, to pay the theater chains to block out the theaters for those specific films. I mean, yeah, it's not really a huge surprise to me. I wasn't expecting to see numbers like that. Now, back in the early 2000s, they did this with The Lion King. Back in 2002, they re-released it, and then also again in Disney 3D in theaters, which did amazing. I think it made, gosh, I can't even remember how much it made, almost like $90 million with the Disney 3D. Now, again, those were different times. Nowadays, again, going back to TS Way 2's question, when it comes to the theaters, a lot of people aren't really going to go for that. If they're not going for original content, they're sure as heck not going to really go for a re-release that they could just see watch on Disney streaming. Plus.
And that's the whole thing, right? Is the reason why they're not going to the theaters for these movies is because it's so accessible at home. They're waiting for that streaming release. So, you kind of like when it comes to a re-release of a movie that's not only going to be Soul, it's not like a movie that like Wish, right? Like we know Wish is going to be on streaming in a few weeks, right? Or a month or whatever. Like Soul's on the platform now. Like there's very little like motivation for a family to go and spend the money to go see that right now, So unfortunately, but yeah, I think it is a testing thing. Like George was saying, I think they're testing to see how it does. It's an interesting idea. I mean, a lot of people were complaining that like, well, Disney should have put Soul and these movies in theaters. I remember all that talk, and now it's in theaters and no one's seeing it. It's kind of ironic, but it kind of gives these movies though, which I think Soul is actually a great movie. It kind of gives these movies a second shot at life, which I think is kind of cool. But yeah, expectations, I mean, going into it are going to be low because it's on the streamer and it's been on the streamer for like a year or more now.
Yeah, it's been on the streamer for at least a year or two. And the other problem is when it doesn't do well, then it has a perception of dying a dog's death. You know what I mean? So like, the Twitter community is going to, mouse bad side of the Twitter community is going to look at how Soul performed over the weekend. And, they're going to go, well, look, nobody wants to go see Disney movies, obviously, because Soul made less than $1 million over the weekend. Granted, it probably had a marketing budget of less than nil, right? Because they don't want to invest too much into remarketing for these movies that they already marketed for. These already had full marketing budgets when these movies were released. So they're not going to go, all in on these old releases and movies like South Pacific. I mean, shoot, dude, that belongs on Kirk Turner Classic Movies. You know, that's that's an old film. I mean, it's a good film. Lord Jonathan. Don't get me wrong, but the amount of people that actually turn up to go see that would be minuscule.
Well, and you know what I think is actually kind of funny too is a lot of people that, as you had mentioned, Slimer, the people that would knock to say the notion of, oh, no one went to go see Soul in theaters, no one is going to see Luca in theaters, no one's going to see Turning Red in theaters, Disney's suffering with these, no one wants to see Disney animated movies anymore. And then I'd probably turn around to that same person and say, did you go and see it? Oh, no, why do I need to see it? I got it on streaming. Well, you just answered your own question.
There you go, exactly. That's exactly what it is, yeah. And you're right, Slimer, the marketing for these re-releases, I mean, I haven't seen any ads outside of like some tweets that is coming into the theaters again, coming to theaters as a re-release. I haven't seen much marketing on Disney's end. I can't imagine it was a massive budget for these re-releases.
Dude, I didn't even know it came out this weekend until Marty Snyder posted about it in Twitter. I saw a snapshot of him at the movie theater going to watch Soul, and I was just like, "What?" Well, I consider myself in the loop, so I didn't know.
Well, here's the thing: I knew that they were. I just forgot about it because again, Disney really didn't like cross promote it too much. No. Yeah, it wasn't until Marty when he made the post that he said he was there, and I thought, oh shoot, that's right. They were re-releasing it,
Yeah. And then Lord Jonathan here continues. Could Ahsoka season 2 lead Star Wars back to Legends story of old Hollywood like Mara Jade and Mortis Gods, not newer Star Wars from Disney without Mara Jade and more based on the wills of the Force? That's interesting. I mean, we know Dave Filoni is kind of like he's like the George Lucas's apprentice, and he's a fan, he's a fanboy, and he likes the deep cuts and all that stuff. I mean, it's possible, Lord Jonathan, that like because Dave Filoni has more creative control at Lucasfilm right now, and Jon Favreau as well, and that they might pull some stuff from Legends like Mara Jade and things like that. We've already kind of dipped into the Mortis Gods a little bit with canon already, with I believe with what was it, Star Wars Rebels. Things like that. But I mean, anything's possible. I mean, I think Filoni is he's a fanboy like we are, and it wouldn't surprise me if he dips into some of this stuff. But what do you think, Slimer? Possibility?
Yeah, it's a possibility. I think that they have to rein in how much they do with Legends, though, because it can get a little too how can you get it? It has the probability of getting a little too convoluted. And if it gets to the point where you're starting to lose the normies, then you lose your biggest audience. Because you got to remember, Star Wars is a general audience property now. So you don't want to get too specific about things that happened, in the Legends. So the more generalized it can keep the Star Wars movies, and the more that it can appeal to everybody, the better. As long as it has a really good story, as long as it's a good film, then I think people will show up. You don't have to lean on the Legend stuff too much. What I think would actually bring a lot of people into that movie in particular, the one that Jon Favreau is going to be directing, the Mando and Grogu movie. That's not the official name, but if they do like an all character lineup where it's Ahsoka, Boba Fett, Mando, Luke Skywalker, and Grogu having to fight a bad guy at the end, and they split up in different teams, very, very Star Wars-esque, where they have, plot A and plot B going at the same time. And they're, trying to save the galaxy in two separate story modes. But having all the characters that everybody wants to see in the movie at once is giving everybody what they want, and not holding it back for any reason. And I think that's kind of like what got the sequel trilogy in trouble, right? Like they withheld Han, Luke, and Leia together in the Millennium Falcon, and that seems to be a big complaint with the sequel trilogy, when it's very obvious that that's what you do, right? Like if you're making a Star Wars movie, you have those three together, and they carry the film on their entire backs. So they can't make all those easy mistakes going into this one. But Lord Jonathan, I hope that answers your question. I think that's my end of that.
Yeah, and Slimer, I agree with you. That was one of the things that Disney dropped the ball on with the sequel trilogy, was just not having those three together. And now we'll never get it because Carrie Fisher is unfortunately no longer with us. You know what I'm saying? I mean, maybe they can do like an AI thing or something, but it's not the same. That was really disappointing. I for the most part liked all three movies. I don't think it flowed well as a trilogy, but when I went to the theater and saw each movie, I liked each movie. on its own basis, you know. But that was one thing that like at least have maybe like in the Force Awakens or something like that, like the three of them in the cockpit of the Falcon or something. Like it just makes a lot of sense. They dropped the ball. They absolutely dropped the ball. What do you think, George? Could this lead to kind of more Star Wars Legends stuff coming into the fold, or do you think that Filoni won't go that route?
I don't know. I think Filoni's more like a wild horse. You know, I feel like, you know, if you give him kind of like permission to go and explore and play and try different things, he's very good at it, you know, and he knows, you know, he knows the Star Wars lore. He knows, you know, as you said, he's, you know, basically George Lucas's apprentice, you know. So, I mean, I don't doubt Dave Filoni, so whatever he decides, I think would be a good probable cause for Lucasfilm. They really do need to try something, I think, a little bit different to kind of shake it up a bit, take some risks, because right now it's just a complete flatline right now. And I think, honestly, with the announcement with Ahsoka Season 2 and the Mando and Grogu film, I think that they're on a good upward trajectory, you know, moving forward, and just hopefully they can sustain that.
Yeah, they made the right call having that Mando and Grogu movie, the first one out the gate since 2019. Look, I'm not a Rey hater. I think there's potential with that character. I like Daisy Ridley a lot, you know, but like, you know, the first time out the gate after like all those years, and you're going to start with a controversial movie like Rey, it's just not a good idea. You're going to want to go for the sure thing, you know. And a lot of these Disney studios are going for the sure thing right now because they need a lot. They need to secure their money right now. Like even Disney Animation, you know, what they announced? They announced Frozen, 3 and 4. You know, even Pixar, they announced another Toy Story. It's like they're going for the sure thing right now. They got to secure those wins. And then when you have a few wins under your belt, then you can go in there and start doing riskier stuff like the Rey movie and things like that. You go into those riskier movies with a little more confidence. Very much like what Marvel did. You know, they didn't start off the MCU with Guardians of the Galaxy. If they would have done that, it would have been an abysmal failure. They built that trust over all those movies, Captain America, Thor, you know, and all that, Iron Man. Then after a few years, you can go into the riskier stuff like Ant-Man and Guardians, right? You know, Rey is a risky thing right now, and you want to wait on that. You don't want to out the gate for first time back in like how many years have that movie, and it's a very controversial topic even now after all these years after Last Jedi. Mr. Andrew Kellogg, do you think the Matterhorn needs a track replacement and new ride vehicle? The funny thing about that, Andrew, is they actually replace the track very often. Like every year, I believe, like I think it's like around this time, Matterhorn goes down and they do a lot of track replacement. It's not so much the track that's the problem. It's the design of the track with the mountain. And I've heard years ago, I don't remember the exact detail about it. I'll have to look it up and I'll get back to you, Andrew. But there's something with the mountain itself that they're limited as to what they can do with the track. There's always going to be that bumpiness and that kind of uncomfort level, unfortunately, without completely redesigning the mountain. So the track is new. The track, they replace that all the time. The ride vehicles are fairly new. I think they just replaced those a few years ago. It's not that. It's the mountain itself. They would have to redesign the mountain to kind of make the jerky and the bumpiness go away. And a lot of people wouldn't want that either. So it's kind of like a balancing act. What do you think, George?
Yeah, I think
you like that balancing act, George?
Yeah. Yeah, I think honestly, despite of how, you know, bumpy and rocky and bouncy or whatever term you want to use for the Matterhorn, I think it still draws, you know, the crowds in. You know, people really don't care. Like, they can complain and say, oh man, like that was rough, that hurt my back, or like, you know, kinked my neck or what have you. But yet they still go right back in line to ride it over again. It's like this timeless classic attraction that just is like a well-oiled machine that just keeps going, because the Matterhorn is a one-time Disney attraction. They only built it once. You know, of course you have its sort of like counterpart with Expedition Everest, which also has some issues because of the mountain itself with the Yeti, because they can't get in there to fix it. Basically, the Yeti really isn't the issue. It's the platform the Yeti is on. Right. That when you turn him on, it's cracking the foundation and it's hitting into the mountain. But unfortunately, there's 3 separate layers of that attraction, which is the platform of the Yeti itself, the track and the mountain itself. So, there's not too much you can do. And basically that's the same thing with the Matterhorn. If you have to fix certain subtleties to it, sometimes it can cause bigger problems that you would have to kind of break down and demolish the mountain, and Disney is not going to do that.
No, it's a rocky ride. It's kind of like it's kind of a meme at this point. Like it's almost like what makes the Matterhorn kind of fun, because it's going to break your back. You know what I'm saying? It's like you know you're going to get like a lumbar like something right with that ride. But it's all good.
I will say though, the trick to not feel as much of the roughness is actually treat it like a real toboggan sled. If you lean forward and move with the track, you don't feel it as much.
Look at George. He went full Cool Runnings on that ride. He's ready to go, man. He's like, I'm ready. I go full toboggan. What about you, Slimer? Have you been on the Matterhorn? I know you're an East Coaster.
Yeah, so I have not actually been on the Matterhorn. I can only imagine that it's rough. So it actually uses the same generation track system as the Space Mountain that we have over here. So it's a first generation steel roller coaster. So in terms of feel, they feel about the same. Space Mountain over here might feel a little bit smoother because it was, it's a little bit newer, but it's still within the same generation of track. But, I think you're right. It takes away from the novelty. Like it's par for the course. It just comes with it. When you get the pizza, you don't get the grease. You're like, where's my grease? If you get a 67 Mustang and it's got a fuel injected engine in it, like, do you have a 67 Mustang? Like you want the carbureted 427 that shakes the screws out of the engine. So, yeah, I don't think people would necessarily be happy about that. Like, if you're not getting a little whiplash on it, then you're essentially changing the composition of the thing. You know what I mean? Like,
right?
Is it the Matterhorn at that point?
Come on, exactly. That's part of the experience at this point. You know what I'm saying? If it's too smooth, it doesn't feel right.
And I have to say, now this could just be me. I feel like Magic Kingdom Space Mountain is worse than the Matterhorn.
Oh,
and
wow.
I think it's more so because since it's all in the dark and I can't see really the track. Even though I've been on it many a times,
you can't prepare.
Of which way to move, so it really flings you around.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's a good point. When you don't have that, like that anticipation, like, okay, I'm making a right turn here. You can kind of brace for the right. I'm going to left. I can kind of brace for the left. I can see how that could be an issue. Absolutely. All right, let's rock and roll. We got Candy Camper. Now, we're getting into some territory. I have no idea what he's talking about. So you guys hopefully know a little bit about Pokemon.
I don't know shit about Pokemon.
I'm in the same boat. Hopefully, hey, George, it all rests on you, buddy. Okay. It says here, if you were given a chance to pick a Pokemon from Professor Oak, which starter would it be? I have no idea what any of that means. So go ahead, George.
Okay, so I'll just kind of set the table before I choose my Pokemon. So basically, a starter Pokemon is basically when you are a Pokemon trainer, they start you off with one Pokemon with your Pokeballs to kind of, when you set off on your journey to become a Pokemon leader or a Pokemon master, and you have to go catch them all. They give you one to kind of start off your journey, because you need a Pokemon to be able to defeat other Pokemon so you can try to catch them, and then you build your team up, and then you join like battle leagues and tournaments and what have you. So after saying that, my starter Pokemon that I would want from Professor Oak would be Charmander, because he's a fire type Pokemon, and essentially after training and battling, he would then evolve into, well, Charmeleon, and then into Charizard. So that would be like my finalized main starter Pokemon, because I would want to have Charizard.
There you go. Yeah.
And you two are looking at me like you don't even know what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah, no idea, bro. No idea. But it sounded good. It sounded real good. Candy Camper here says, and this again for you, George, do you think they eat Pokemon in the Kanto region? I don't know what that means. Is that a Pokemon thing, or is that a...
I don't. Now, I haven't like watched Pokemon and like outside. I don't even know. I'm not sure.
Is that like a Pokemon Star Wars joke, like Kanto Bite? Is that what he's talking about? I don't know.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
I'm not really sure.
Chewie might chow down on some of the smaller ones, like the porgs.
Right. Like, well, you know, like there's not a Porg and Pikachu, not too far between. You know, I don't know. Chewie might like that. BJ Vincent, hi OG, George and Slimer. What is an abandoned Disney animated movie you still want to see? For example, I would like to have seen Gigantic and King of the Elves. I'm 100% with you on Gigantic, BJ Vincent. Yeah. That was a take on Jack and the Giant Beanstalk. That would be really, really cool. When it comes to Disney animation, I'm really big on the fairy tales. I think that's kind of like the thing that Disney does really well usually. So something like that plays into that brand quite well. I've heard of King of the Elves. I'm not really familiar with exactly what that was going to entail. It sounds like a very fantasy-based, like high fantasy kind of film.
I believe it was based off of The Elves and the Shoemaker.
Is it like a grim fairy tale?
It's, yeah. It's more. I don't know if it was the Grimms. Anyone who knows, I think it was. But yeah, it's based off of like the old traditionalized fairy tale story, like Rumpelstiltskin type of story. Which I have heard of it. They didn't really have too much in the concept. Like I remember seeing like the starter up like title, like of how it would look. You know, in art form. Gigantic, I was really looking forward to that. And especially because that would have kind of geared towards a Spain pavilion in Epcot, which I was so excited about that. So to be able to see the movie and then tie it into a new pavilion at Epcot, and especially Spain, that would have been phenomenal. Another movie I would have loved to have seen, which was a Pixar film, but because of... the storyline for Rio, it kind of died at death's door, was Newt.
Oh yeah,
I was very curious.
It was like the little lizard, right?
Yeah. So it was like the last two lizards that were, you know, on the planet, so to speak, of their species, and they had a mate to keep the evolution going. So they kind of already had that with Rio, and I think it was just a lot of back and forth. Sort of kind of like with me, like South and Migration, you know, they were kind of like headbutting back and forth.
A couple things about that. They own Rio now because they bought Fox. So that's kind of like a non-issue now for them. But aside from that, though, I want to say, BJ Vincent, no idea really fully dies at Disney, whether it be animation or parks. They were kicking around The Little Mermaid for decades. Okay, since Walt was alive. They were kicking around Frozen for decades and decades and decades. Or
Beauty and the Beast.
The Snow Queen. Yeah, Beauty and the Beast since Walt's day. Eventually, these things ultimately get made. So I'm pretty certain, like Gigantic and some version of that and King of the Elves.
And do you know how I know, too, with Gigantic? Because technically, it is still utilized in Zootopia. Because the scene when the weasel shows like his bootleg DVDs of knockoffs that is like Disney animated films, but it's showcased as animals. Gigantic is one of them.
That's interesting. What are your thoughts on that, Slimer?
So I agree with Gigantic and King of the Elves, and I think the name King of the Elves just by itself would do well in movie theaters because it has an aura of mystery behind it. Like what is that? King of the Elves. It has to do with elves. Elves are a very popular mythical creature, no matter what they're in, whether it's whether it's Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones or whatever. So I think that would do well. I'd like to see a new Fantasia. Oh, they had that Fantasia. What was it? Fantasia 2006?
2000.
Yeah. So they had Fantasia 2000. I think they had a third one in the books. It was going to be called Fantasia 2006 or something like that. I would like to see a new one. I think that there's new audio technology that they could incorporate into it now. That could add a new element to Fantasia, kind of make it 3D. And then I like to see a live action rendition of the Aristocats.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's
interesting. Okay. Wow, man. Yeah, Fantasia. I would love them to revisit that, dude. Mm-hmm. I love what they did with the last one, Fantasia 2000. That was beautiful. Mm-hmm. Absolutely beautiful. Interesting stuff. Suave, CLT. Out of all the domestic Disney parks, what is your favorite bench to sit on and why that bench? You know, I would have to go with... Go ahead, George.
Really quick, OG, because I just have to just say this. I'll tell you the one bench that I cannot stand to sit on. And it's the bench that's Caddy quarter, left-hand side of Sleeping Beauty Castle in Disneyland Park. Because I tell you, when you sit there, I don't know what it is because of the smellitzers, it reeks of horse shit.
Wait. So you're
If you
okay,
go in front of Sleeping Beauty Castle, like you go all the way down,
right,
the benches that are like in that little central hub, that is
right,
caddy corner to the left-hand side. So if you're facing Sleeping Beauty Castle,
right.
to the left, if you sit on those benches as it circles around, where you then start to see the entranceways to Adventureland and Frontierland, those benches, if you sit there for a long time, it smells of horse shit. And there's nothing there. I think what happened is
Sewer system.
I think because of how when the horses squat and relieve themselves while they're carrying the guests, I think it got stuck somewhere in the ductal system where they have like the smellitzers, so it constantly smells of horse manure.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah, I thought I know what you're saying because there is a smell, like, and I always thought that was like the sewer
Yeah,
systems down below. Or
that is straight up horse crap.
And you're saying
man.
because of that, it is your favorite place to sit?
No, that's my least. That's my least. So I had to say. But go ahead, OG. Give your favorite spot.
No, I like sitting, like, for me personally, I like sitting like on like the like kind of like the hub, but not like where you were talking about, but like like the hub, like that circular area, like right by the partner statue, but like facing like, you know, the street, because you see a lot of people entering the parks and stuff, and that like excitement, like that just entering the parks kind of vibe you get from people. I like that. So like, you know, Main Street I think is a good spot to sit. Just not where George is talking about. Not over there by the horse shit, you know, absolutely not.
That's funny.
But yeah, that I think that'd be my favorite. And then for DCA, it's a tough one, man. I don't know if I even have it. Well, actually, you know what? Any bench in Grizzly Peak. I love Grizzly Peak, the ambiance, and we'll get to that in a second too, because Kaylee asked a great question about background music. But the Grizzly Peak area, sitting there relaxing, I could fall asleep like a baby in there.
I think for me, it could probably be a bench, but one of my all-time favorite spots to sit at in Disneyland is right by where Cafe Orleans is. Whether I'm sitting in Cafe Orleans, like on the outside and facing the rivers of America, where you could see the Mark Twain and the Columbia ship, you know, passing by. New Orleans is my favorite land in all of Disneyland Park. It's actually one of my favorite lands just in any Disney park, to be honest with you. So just that whole ambiance effect that you can see, you know, partial of Frontierland. You look, you know, you're in New Orleans Square. You kind of can see Critter Country off in the distance, where you used to see the top of Splash Mountain, but I'm for sure now you'll be able to still see the top of Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Yeah. So yeah, that's my in DCA. I would have to agree with you. OG is Grizzly Peak. I think anywhere you would sit there, I could sit like right across from Grizzly River Run, and just, you know, having that pine, you know, woodsy wilderness kind of feel. I absolutely love that, and I, basically any bench too in Cars Land. Like I could just sit there and just soak in the atmosphere of like Route 66 and Radiator Springs with the music, and it's very lively. I think that those are two opposites, and that's why I kind of like it. Like Cars Land is more upbeat, it's more lively, but then Grizzly Peak is more subtle, more relaxed, more zen.
And in terms of Animal Kingdom, I can lay on the floor and enjoy my day because that park is so beautiful. It's amazing. You know, I don't really need a bench. But what about you, Slimer? What's your favorite bench in any Disney park?
All right, so you know, there's this night in Magic Kingdom. There's this nice transition area right between Adventureland and the Spoke, the main central Spoke in Magic Kingdom, where you're sitting very near some rock work that's next to Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse. But you can kind of have a line of sight to the Magic Kingdom too. That's a really cool spot. I also like the benches in Hollywood Studios, right down Hollywood Boulevard. Anywhere there where you can look at all the neon lights on the main street towards Tower of Terror. That's a really cool spot to sit as well. And I kind of like sitting next. Well, Dreamer's Point. That's a good one too, because you're out looking onto World Showcase and Epcot, next to Walt Disney. And I like the bench with Roy Disney too, as you're walking into the Magic Kingdom. It actually doesn't face Main Street. It's actually facing the entrance, but you kind of watch people as they're coming into the park. You
Yeah.
can see the Walt Disney World Railroad pull into the station. It's a nice spot, and a lot of people actually don't sit there, to be honest. A lot of people kind of walk by Roy. So anytime I have an opportunity to sit by Roy, I kind of like to soak that in, just so I can give him some acknowledgement.
It's funny you say that, Summer. You're absolutely right. When we were there this past summer, that's one of the first things we did when we went into Magic Kingdom. I sat right next to Roy. I'm like, this is a great statue, but there was nobody there. Like, nobody cares about it. I'm like, this is a great statue. And I love the statues like that. That's the one thing. The partner statue, I get it. It was like the first one they did. There's a learning curve here. I get it. But these statues that are kind of like on the ground level with the guest, whether it be the 1930s Walt and Mickey in California Adventure, this new one over there in Hong Kong. With
I
Walt
love that one.
Oh, on the bench, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
The Roy and Minnie one at Magic. I love these like on the ground kind of statues. I think it's so good. Walt Disney didn't want to be idolized like that. I know he had issue with things like that, but I think the way that these are done, he'd be more okay with it. I think the partner statue is the one where it's like a Greek god. He's like on this pedestal. That one's a little bit iffy, but the ones on the ground I think are perfect, absolutely perfect. BJ Vincent here says, name a non-Disney Network TV series that was canceled and or taken off television too early, and you feel deserves another chance. I have quite a few, but the two I will name is Kings and Firefly. What are your thoughts, George? What's a non-Disney TV series that was canceled, not renewed, that you think that should have got a second chance?
You might have to come back to me on that one.
I'll tell you one for me, but actually it's kind of like a redemption story. But Family Guy is one of my favorite shows of all time. I love Family Guy. I could sit and binge watch Family Guy all day long, and I would lose track of the day. I think it's hilarious. I absolutely think it's hilarious. Fun fact: it was actually canceled by Fox pretty early on in its run.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was canceled, and then it ended up doing really well. I think like on YouTube or something like that. I don't really remember the details of it, but there was a big kind of like fervor for this show to bring it back, and Fox did. And now it's been running a long time. I mean, Family Guy has run longer than a lot of live action sitcoms and things like that. So that was the one that it was the one that got canceled, but they did the right thing and they brought it back. And
I got one. I got one. Okay, this is a live action sitcom. I was a huge fan of the show Mike and Molly. Okay. And I felt like that show ended very shortly, abruptly, right when it was like picking up. I know that there was some issues along with that show due to the fact of between the actors and the production and the producers and the creator and everything, due to the sensitive subject of body stature when it came to the actors of the show, Billy Cardell and
like fat shaming.
Well, it was actually the opposite. It was because at the time Melissa McCarthy was losing weight.
Oh, okay.
And they felt that her character was more better as being thicker.
Right.
So it was kind of going back and forth, and they just couldn't come to terms of agreement, and they never renewed. But I thought the show, which was a shame, because I think whether or not that Melissa McCarthy would have stayed the weight she was, or if she had lost the weight, it's still her. She still put on a brilliant performance as the character that she portrayed. And as I said, I love the show, and I think it ended on a short note, unfortunately.
What about you, Slimer? Well, any shows that were taken off too early that you would like to see come back?
Yeah. So I'd like to see. They're actually animated. I'd like to see Silverhawks come back. That was actually. So Silverhawks, strangely enough, like for as much as people remember it, it was only around for a season. But it was a really cool concept. I mean, had one of the best openings out of any of the cartoons in the 80s, period. And I'm pretty sure all these cartoons came out of the same studio, by the way. I mean, the animation is so similar. Yeah. They're all drawn in Japan too, by the way. Ghostbusters, Transformers, Silverhawks, most of them were Japanese artists. But yeah, I'd like to see that. Extreme Ghostbusters was only actually, I think it was like 3 months it was around. So that
Wow.
one was cut too short. Yeah, but that was done by the same animators that were doing the 1997 Men in Black cartoon. So it was Men in Black was in 1997, and anything that tried to challenge Men in Black died a dog's death. I mean, Men in Black was huge, and Ghostbusters couldn't even get a resurrection based off of the popularity of that movie slash animation. But as far as live, I don't know.
But before you continue on, Slimer, I just have to say the position you're sitting in right now, it correlates so well with the bottom part of Spider-Man.
Oh yeah,
It fits so well. Yeah,
like
You're
your
right.
arm, like
Hold
your
on,
arm, like
get it.
matched. Yeah,
yeah.
like your arm was like in sync with Spider-Man's arm. It was perfect. You're absolutely right. No, but Slimer's great because we're basically like we're around the same age, and Silverhawks was awesome. I used to have the toys for that. Used to love that. Thundercats was another good one.
Yeah.
But you're right. A lot of those were out of Japan, by our generation. Yeah. I even remember, and maybe you remember Slimer, but do you remember a Dennis the Menace cartoon that was kind of drawn in Japanese style?
Yeah.
Back then, there was a lot of stuff, man. And that was a great time to be a kid. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember watching older manga like Fist of the North Star, and I would go, man, that looks eerily like a lot of the American cartoons that I would watch, like whether it was Lone Star or Mask, or you just like, are these drawn by the same person? Then I started doing some research, and sure as shit, they're all drawn in Japan. Everything was outsourced there in terms of animation. They probably had the illustrators over here, maybe not. I think they were all illustrated over there too. And then you would have the voice actors, the American voice actors, doing all the voiceovers.
I do remember those animated series based off of like the movies, like The Mask and Men in Black, Jumanji. I think that went on for like a season. Ghostbusters.
It was a big deal. That was like the thing that the studios did back in the 90s. They based animations off of the popular movies. That's not such a thing now anymore. Like you don't see cartoons based off of Fast and the Furious or what are some other live action properties that you know what else they had a live action? What is it? They had animated Rambo. They had animated RoboCop. They had a cartoon RoboCop.
Crazy.
First and foremost, why are you letting your kids watch RoboCop?
Right, exactly.
Or Rambo.
They were doing animated everything back then. Absolutely everything back then. It was crazy. Yeah, I remember I was real big into like He-Man. I was even into like She-Ra. I watched She-Ra. I mean, there was so much good stuff back then, dude. Even Care Bears. I would dip into Care Bears. I was cool with all of it. Now, there was an animated show recently that I think got like kind of shafted. It was the DuckTales reboot in 2017. It went on for like 3 or 4 seasons, but that was actually a really good reboot. Like that was like a textbook example of how you reboot like correctly. That was a perfect mix of like new enough where it offered something different than the original, but nostalgic enough where it was like, okay, this is still DuckTales. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, I'm sorry, Slimer, how you're sitting, that is like so freaking trippy right now. That's great.
Dude, like literally your arm is like right in line with Spider-Man's arm. Awesome. Yeah, I'll go back, I'll screenshot, I'll send it to you. Kaylee here says, Kaylee with 2 E's says here, your favorite Mickey Mouse short. This is an easy one, Kaylee. My favorite Mickey Mouse short is actually kind of taboo. I don't even think you can find it anymore. I don't think you can, at least, but Runaway Brain. I thought that was amazing. That was a 90s era Mickey Mouse short. It was a little edgy. The animation, it was like perfect animation. Like it was so like, it was like the peak Mickey Mouse animation. It was so good. Love that short. I don't think it's on Disney Plus. But really good stuff. What about you, George? Favorite Mickey Mouse short?
Favorite Mickey Mouse. Okay, so if we're kind of going classic, like something that kind of stands out for me, I would have to say probably the band concert.
Okay.
Probably the band concert because I don't know. I love the music. I actually love that style of Mickey. You don't really, even like throughout the whole entire set like of the Mickey Mouse shorts, you don't really see him too much in that style. You have like the band concert, the Brave Little Tailor. Band concert's one of my all-time favorites because I also love the Silly Symphony swings. Call Me Crazy up at DCA. I love that the score that they play when you're on the swing. So it's like, yeah, it's definitely the band concert for me.
All right. What about you, Slimer?
I'm a big fan of Lonesome Ghost. And I like the Christmas Carol.
Oh, Christmas Carol. That's a good one, dude.
Mhm.
That one is actually that will get you right in the feels, bro. That
Oh,
one
yeah.
is like
Yeah.
it's crazy emotional.
Mhm.
I do have to give a shout out to Plain Crazy just because he's rocking the same hair that I have. So I'm a little partial to that. You know what I'm saying? How do you not love it, right?
He looks a lot like Walt in that picture, doesn't he? Doesn't
Yeah,
he
he
look like a
does.
young Walt?
Yeah, he does. That's the thing about Mickey back then. Like he really had a lot of personality back then.
Yeah.
For a while he became just a corporate icon, which
Mhm.
is sad to see. But back then he was a feisty little guy, man. He was cool, you know. And that's the other thing too that I think is pretty cool with Disney now is that they are trying to get him away just from a corporate icon with these new Mickey shorts that they're doing, the Paul Ruddish cartoons. Look, I'm not a huge fan of those shorts. I mean, they're cool. They have some cool nerdy Easter eggs in there and stuff. But like, I think that's kind of cool to kind of bring the personality back to Mickey. He's not just the corporate mascot for the company. He's actually a character with a personality. So I think that was really a cool thing from the kind of insert back in because for a while there we were losing part of that.
OG, I'm a really big fan of this cartoons. I love them.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, the
Nice.
new ones. Yeah, the new Mickey Mouse shirts. Yeah, I love them. I think they're
nice, dude. Nice. Now, are they still? Because it's been running for a while, right? Like a decade now or something. These.
Yeah.
Nice.
Are they making any new ones or are they done? I
don't
haven't
know.
seen any new ones.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, when I say I'm not a huge fan, I'm in the minority because like Slimer, he loves them, and it obviously those shorts are doing like amazing business for the mouse because they created a whole e-ticket off of it with one ray railway, and obviously the merch and those cartoons must be pulling numbers because it seems like it's everywhere. It seems like it's absolutely everywhere. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Let me see here. We have Mr. Jason Hill. Wish will be released on digital on January 23rd, about 60 days after its theatrical release. Why spend the money to take a family to the theater when we can just wait 10 weeks and see it at home?
That's the issue that why they aren't making money in the theaters.
That's the sticking point right there. That's exactly what it is, Jason, and that's why they're having trouble. If there wasn't that promise to have it soon, but what do you do though? Like, how do you fix that? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you fix that? Do you just abandon streaming altogether? Like, what do you do? You know, it is a dilemma. I think the only thing right now that's really doing numbers in theaters are like these sure bets. You know, you put Super Mario in the theater, it's going to do well. Kids are going to go see it.
I was gonna say. I thought you said sherbet. I was gonna say I love me some orange sherbet.
George, you just ate. You can't be hungry already.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What about you, Slimer? What's going on? Like, I mean, 60 days after the fact. I mean, like, why take your kids to the theaters? You know, if you have a family of 4, a family of 5, the theaters are expensive. I mean, you're talking $100 just to get in the door.
As far as whether it's worth it or not to take the family to the movie theater to go see a movie like that, I mean, that's really going to be up to you. The family's going to be dependent on what your expendable income is. So, what I can afford and what you can afford and what, John and Jane can afford are going to be totally different. So I think what the studios are missing though is a concept called pleasure delaying. If you wanted to see a movie on VHS or DVD back in the 80s and the 90s, that was part of the game, right? A movie came out in the theater and you used to have to wait a year, 9 months. I remember waiting a year for Back to the Future to come out on VHS. And then when you bought it, it was like $29.99 on sale. You're talking about like a VHS tape. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, Jason Hill, if you're really interested in that kind of stuff, in that topic, watch a video that Chris Stuckman recently did on why physical media is important, because he actually breaks down how much studios lose in terms of physical media. They're losing upwards of, I mean, obviously it depends on the film, but for example, when Infinity War or Endgame, I can't remember which one, when it came out on DVD, Blu-ray, it made $120 million just on a physical media release. That's a lot of money. I mean, that's a lot of back end revenue right there. So by going straight to streaming, they are literally nuking all that potential revenue. And what that's going to do is the studios are going to limit which movies they make based off of how people are, the purchasing habits of people when it comes to whether they're going to just, watch them on their streaming subscription or whether they're going to go out and actually buy, the actual physical box. So really, yeah, Chris Duckman just released it a couple days ago. If you just go to his YouTube channel, it's the first video that pops up. But if you actually, I know OG, you like physical stuff. I mean, you got a whole bookshelf, you got toys back there. Do you still buy Blu-rays, DVDs? Is that something you're into?
Yeah, I do. If it's something that I really, really love, like I'm picky though,
right?
But like, it's something like I'll get like all the Star Wars movies just to have them, things like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like, and I'll update them too. Like, when I had the DVDs, I upgraded to like the Blu-rays and things like that. But
Blackpink, Deep in Touch, that kind of stuff.
yeah, exactly. I got them on here, But yeah, I mean, I do like physical media, and it's important because if you rely on everything on the streaming services, we're seeing with the streaming services like Netflix and Disney Plus, especially with HBO Max. They can take things off of those platforms in a heartbeat. Like your favorite show can be gone tomorrow. You just, So,
and also too that if you rely 100%. On just the streaming service, there are certain movies that are case sensitive nowadays. So on a streaming service, a company can remove certain elements or scenes that can be a probability factor. Where if you buy problematic, excuse me. But if you buy the DVD or the Blu-ray, then you get its full entirety of the film. Especially if you buy it from at the time before like any of this notion, like such as Dumbo, for instance. That's one of the movies that I believe they altered on Disney Plus.
Right.
We should do a story with Jay Scherer on physical media, because I feel like that's such a relevant topic now, especially with the way things are going with streaming. But I think that it's going to make a comeback. I think that it needs to die though before it gets resurrected. And right now, physical media is dying. Best Buy just took out the entire physical media department out of all of their Best Buys. Are in the process of doing it, and they're the place you used to go for physical media. Remember when you used to walk into Best Buy and like the entire front section of the store was nothing but movies and music, and you just walked around, oh hey, what's this? So I think it needs to die before it gets resurrected, but I do think that physical media is going to come back in a big way. The same that vinyl has come back in a big way.
That's where I bought all of my treasures from the Walt Disney collection. Those
right, because Best Buy does have a really good Walt Disney collection. Yeah.
And Best Buy is interesting because those locations are like physically very big, and I have a feeling they're gonna be shutting down a lot of stores, I think, and downsizing some of these. I think we're gonna see Best Buy maybe not go out of business completely, which I'm not even taking that off the table. As a possibility, Best Buy just goes out completely. But I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of get rid of their standalone mega stores, the ones that they have now that are massive, and just sort of occupy smaller spaces like in malls and what have you.
And I think it's so funny how all these type of outlets were all successful where one never cannibalized the other. For instance, you had movie theaters that people went to go see movies. You had Blockbuster Video where you can go and rent the movie. But even though you can go and rent the movie, it still never hindered the theater, and the theater never hindered Blockbuster. It's like they all had their own.
I just think it's too. I think it's too easy now.
Yeah,
like, I can go on my phone.
It's handed to us. It's handed to us like right on a silver platter.
Well, it's easy because you can just go on there and you just click on whatever you want, right? Like Blockbuster, you still had to physically go somewhere to pick it up. This is all in your hand. Also, I think there's a lot more competition. Like with YouTube, right? Like we have our YouTube channel that takes eyeballs away from the legacy media and things like that, and
absolutely
more options. You
can't get me to sit down and watch a movie. I might sit down and watch a movie 3 or 4 times out of the year, whereas before I used to go to the movie theater 3 or 4 times in a month. Now, YouTube is such a big component of what I consume now. It's probably like you guys.
Okay,
80 to 90% of what you watch is YouTube now.
So let me ask you, Slimer, what was the last movie you watched in its full and when?
The last movie I watched was Wonka. Remember?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Pretty recent.
Wonka, and then before that was The Haunted Mansion, and then before that, shit, I don't even remember. I don't even
Wow.
remember, man. So maybe Infinity War, maybe Ghostbusters Afterlife, something that probably came out in
So
like
so
2020,
so
2021.
Wonka, the Haunted
Mhm.
Mansion, shit I don't even remember. Infinity War.
Yeah.
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 Well, I think
Yeah.
the last movie,
What was yours, OG?
Oh,
Oppen-
Oppenheimer. I saw Oppenheimer. That was the one
Oppenheimer.
before. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was
Was
my
that
last
yours,
one
OG? That
with
was yours
you,
when we
with
when
you.
we went. Yeah.
And that was back in like August, dude.
Yeah.
Like I haven't
Yeah.
been to the theater, and I think that was my last one. I'm pretty sure it was
Yeah, I
actually.
don't remember you mentioning anything after Oppenheimer.
Yeah,
I
that
think
was it.
I think there's a calculus that a lot of people do nowadays where they go, does the price of a ticket plus, popcorn and drinks, is that better than what I can do in my home with a 65 or 75 or 85 inch 4K
Right.
TV? You know what I mean? And if the juice
Yeah.
isn't worth the squeeze, they don't even go.
Exactly. I like that. If the juice ain't worth the squeeze, that's perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
On brand. On brand. Mr. Glenn Bush, thank you so much. $5 super chat. Thank you, Glenn. Big supporter of the channel. We appreciate you, Glenn, so much. He says, no question, just a little something, something. Thank you, Glenn. We appreciate that. That means a lot, brother. Thank you.
And always us on here, we always love a little something something.
Little something, something. Little something, something. Mr. Sam Chat says here, question from the other day. What is the most traumatizing scene in a Disney animated film? Mine is Pinocchio when Lampwick turns into a donkey. That scene is so scary and will probably live in my head forever. Yeah,
A lot of people were traumatized about the transformation of the donkey scene.
Yeah. Oh, it's terrifying. I mean, like that's the thing I love about Walt Disney. He didn't care. He wasn't talking down to children. Like he was okay with killing Bambi's mother. He was okay with these very dark Pinocchio movie in general. Pinocchio is a dark movie. You know what I'm saying? Like pretty much the whole way through it. You know, I like that. You know, and Michael Eisner was the same way. He, like as George would say, he would go ball to the wall. He didn't care. He'd make Hunchback of Notre Dame, which again is a dark movie. He would, the way that Mufasa died was absolutely out of control. I just think that, yeah.
Am I having deja vu, or did we already have this question by Sam Chat before?
We did, but it was, I think it was the other day we had a live chat, and we had a hard out like at 2 hours, so we were unable to get to it.
That's why. Okay, that's why this question seems familiar to me because I do remember reading it. Yeah. Okay.
So for me, the most traumatizing scene ever, and it a lot of times people don't even know about it or have forgotten about it because it's a Disney animated movie. A lot of people don't really talk about, but it's in The Fox and the Hound, where she takes Todd on the drive to take him to the forest and leave him there. And you have that music playing in the back. Oh my god! You want to see somebody bawl like a baby? I kid you not. I'm a man's man. I will take it on the chin like anybody else. But it is like you put that movie on, you put that scene on. I swear, I get the lump in the throat. I start, my eyes swell up. I cannot watch that scene worth nothing.
And even like Finding Nemo. I know it's not Disney animation technically, but like. I'm just watching that going like, oh my God, there's so much love in this family. It's so hard. It just tugs at your heartstrings, you know? It's so hard to get through. It's really tough. What about you, Slimer? What's the most traumatizing for you?
Oh man. I was just going through them in my head as you guys were talking, and there's so much iconic scenes in the old Disney animated movies from the 40s and the 50s. Because like you said, Walt Disney was not bashful about having scary shots, like when when the evil queen turns into the gruesome looking witch. There's lightning flashing, and there's this entire transformation process. And as a kid, it was scary. I remember riding Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs the ride. And, there's that one part where the queen is in front of the mirror, and as she turns, you see that she's the witch, right? You know which part I'm talking about on the ride over Disneyland. That ride scared the shit out of me. All right. that particular, because the ride comes up to her and then it bends around the corner. But it scared me because it scared me in the animated movie. But of course, Bambi's mom dying, Pinocchio dying. Oh, dude, when Geppetto lost Pinocchio, fuck man, I cried like a little bitch every single time. Little bitch Slimer crying every time Pinocchio died.
It's hard, man. It's hard. It really is.
And that's how you know you made a good film.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
as much as it could be traumatizing, as much as that means it pulls on your heartstrings in many
Right.
different layers. It could be something sad, it could be something happy,
Right.
it could be something serious, but that's how you know that an actual hand-drawn animated cell literally made a real-life human being have some sort of emotion tied to it.
It's crazy.
Right. Remember the drama with the Siamese cats and Lady and the Tramp? How effective that was with the music and the shadows and the eyes. I mean, it was so effective, and you don't get that. Like it's everything's kind of quirky and goofy now in a very like playful way, which is good, because it's lighthearted and it's humorous. But the dangers.
You know another one that was kind of traumatizing to me as a kid. It was actually in Bambi, but it wasn't the scene a lot of people think it is. It's when the hunter was in the forest and the birds were kind of sitting in the grass, and then the one bird got really scared and she started flying, and you hear the bang and you see the bird actually drop dead right there in front of you, and you're like, oh my god, like did that actually just happen? And it's like, but it did. But again, it was, would they do something like that in today? No, because they got their jock strap so far up their freaking behinds. It's like Walt Disney didn't care.
Well, that's the thing that makes great storytelling is that you don't pander, you don't try to water stuff down within reason, obviously. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But Walt Disney understood that, hey, the kids in the audience they'll be able to handle that, and they did. We've seen for generations they were able to handle this stuff. Michael Eisner, I said it so many times, he understood that as well. Lion King is one of Disney's most popular animated films of all time, and it has one of the most heart-wrenching scenes, most traumatizing scenes in their library. And look where it's at. It's among the greats. You know what I'm saying? It's just good storytelling. Real quick, we do have a super chat before we get to Kaylee's question. The Kingdom Report. The Kingdom Report here says, "What happened? Did I miss something? Well, what did I miss?
Mrs. Slimer came up and she just rubbed my shoulder and just for George.
Okay. I was like, wait a minute. I'm like focusing on the chat. Okay. There you go, Mrs. Slimer.
Yeah, he liked it. She's like, did he like it?
She's like waiting in the wings, like what's the reaction here? Like, what is it?
Here we go. We'll give Mrs. Slimer a siren. There we go.
Sorry for the interruption, OG.
No, you're good. You're good. I came back and I'm like, what's going on? Am I like, what's the joke here? I didn't see it. The Kingdom Report here with a $10 donation. Thank you so much, Kingdom Report. They do phenomenal work, by the way. Check them out on YouTube. They are amazing. Friends of the channel. Subscribe to them. Show them all the love. He says here's a question. Why are you boys so great? Well, thank you so much, Kingdom Report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And make sure you guys are great.
Exactly. They are fantastic. Make sure you subscribe to them.
Yeah, definitely.
They do amazing park stuff. Absolutely.
But really, honestly, and not to toot our own horns, but I think honestly, what even just separates this channel from a lot of others is, we're down to earth people. We live regular everyday lives. We come on here. We speak our minds respectfully. We tell it like it is, and we're fair to all. Who all, as Walt always says, to all who come to this happy place, welcome. So that's Orange Grove 55. So.
Just like the banner below, to all who come to this nerdy place, welcome.
Yeah.
This is your land, or this is your channel. Kaylee with 2 E's. What land has the best background music? Okay, so Kaylee, this is a good question. Very good question. And Kaylee brings it with these questions. She's really good at this. I would say the best background music for me personally is the Grizzly area. I actually have the area music. I play it while I'm working all the time. It's so relaxing. It's super chill. Love it. That's my favorite. What about you?
For me, it would have to be at Epcot.
Oh, that's
like
good.
when you enter in through like the future world. I still call it the future world. I'm sorry, I can't get into these neighborhood type things, but the future world where Spaceship Earth. I just love hearing like that the Epcot loop. Like it's just, I love it.
That's gone, by the way.
I know. It's a shame, really. I miss it.
But if you go on Offhand Disney's channel, you can hear it anytime you want.
There you go. See, shout out to Offhand Disney. Go check him out. Another great creator, by the way. Yeah. Fantastic work. What about you, Slimer? Background music. What's it going to be, brother?
Ooh, man, that's a really good question, Kaylee. Kaylee, put in what your favorite background music is, and I'm gonna go with your answer because I really don't have one. I mean, I kind of like Adventureland. Like I don't know why I want to say Adventureland, but yeah, let's go with Adventureland.
No, that's cool. I like Adventureland has like one of my favorite themes overall in any of the Disney parks. I love the one here. I love the one over there in Florida. I love that Adventureland theming and the music. You know, I wish that the only thing here with Disneyland is our Adventureland is so crammed in. Like there's no room to expand it, you know, sadly. But I love that.
Disneyland's whole entire Adventureland almost feels like the one section of Walt Disney World's Adventureland with the magic carpets of Aladdin. Right. Like it's so compact in that area.
Yeah, 100%. Lovelow here says, would you live in Epcot Progress City if it was built? Oh, hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah. I'd move in right now. What about you? What about you, Slimer? Would you move in?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, come on. I'd take my hoverboard over to, over to work every day, you know, because basically the idea for it was like, it would showcase technology that you couldn't really see anywhere else, you know? So
transportation would be the people mover. Like you'd jump on the people mover and just like, it would take you anywhere you needed to go.
Tell you, man, it'd be amazing. Absolutely amazing. So yeah, I think that would be a no-brainer. We would absolutely move in right now. Kaylee with 2 E's. What should they rename DCA because they sadly totally ditched the California theming? Kaylee, okay, I'm going to have to respectfully disagree. I don't think they ditched the California theming. I kind of said this before a long time ago on the channel, but this is kind of where I'm at with DCA, right? I think when we had DCA 1.0, it was a much more literal interpretation of California. So they were trying to like recreate literally things from California, right? The problem with that approach, though, is you're never going to recreate the Pacific Ocean in a real meaningful way. You're never going to compete with the real ocean. So what Disney decided to do, instead of doing it that way, is that we're going to go ahead and do more of a Disney version of the state. So instead of like Santa Monica Pier or something along those lines, we're going to give you a pier based on RIP, Pixar. So Los Angeles, instead of a literal interpretation of Los Angeles, we're going to give you Los Angeles as seen through the eyes of Walt Disney. Okay. Route 66, instead of giving you a literal interpretation of Route 66, we're going to give you Route 66 as seen through the IP of Cars. So it's still California. It's just kind of California kind of seen through like Disney tinted glasses, so to speak. Right. So I think it's very much still California, you know. Now, I will say this, Kaylee, if they add Pandora into DCA,
it's out the window.
Then I'm on the same page with you. Then I'm like, you know what? You guys have gone too far. I can't, as Padme would say, I can't go with you in the path. I'm gone. You lost OG at that point. You know what I'm saying? But right now, I think we're okay. Even San Francisco, it's San Francisco. It still has that California, it still has that California representation, but it's with that Disney twist. So I think we're fine right now. Just don't do Pandora.
You just did it, OG. Now every time I watch that, when I see Natalie Portman say, "You're going down this path that I just can't follow," now I'm just gonna hear that whole thing about DCA now.
Exactly.
Oh, man, OG would go full Anakin if they put Pandora into DCA. Man, it's over.
It sucks, you know. I love that little park. I root for DCA so much. You know, it has so much potential. I think Pandora would just not be the right fit, and I want something massively good in DCA. That's just not it.
I think honestly, I'd go your route, OG, and honestly go with Zootopia, honestly, over Pandora, as far as the aesthetics of having, like, instead of it being like how it is over in where is it, Shanghai? Is it Shanghai? It's in that, rather than have like that Asian culture, but it would be more of a Californian culture, but in the animal world.
Yeah, you can do Los Angeles with Los Angeles landmarks, but in that Zootopia style. So you can do the Walt Disney Concert Hall in that Zootopia style and things like that. So it's Los Angeles, but with Zootopia ties, so to speak, right? I think that's the way to go. I would prefer that over a Pandora. Do Pandora at Disneyland, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to do it.
the way they embrace culture now, with San Francisco and I like how you said how DCA is looking at California through the lens of Disney animated or Disney Pixar. I think that's the right approach.
Yeah.
I think that is going to be the way moving forward, specifically with IPs like Coco. That's the big one for me.
I'm surprised they still didn't add that in there yet.
Right?
I can't.
Yeah, I mean it's so obvious, right? The Cali South American or the Southern California Mexican culture is such a big part of what makes California culture. I mean it was so. Do you remember how big California culture was in like the 80s and the 90s?
Oh, dude.
Particularly in the 70s and the 80s, like Anaheim, that SoCal life was massive.
Dude, okay, Slimer, you and I were the same age, dude, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember like TNC surf design, like the t-shirts and all that?
Of course, that born in East LA. I mean, you had it was so big.
Yeah.
Even down here in Florida, California culture was pretty big. I think it permeated pretty much every aspect of not just pop culture, but just how what it meant to be like an American,
Right.
like you weren't like American unless you're from Cali, lived in Cali, smoked weed in Cali, got arrested in Cali, like the bad guys are in Cali, all the movies were based out of Cali, the Lethal Weapons. I mean, it was there's so much they can lean into, man. Like sky's the limit. And that's why it doesn't make sense for them to go into like a Pandora, because there's so much California culture out there. You know what I mean? It's unlimited.
It's diverse in its topography, I think it is, where it's like you have mountains,
Right.
deserts, oceans, whatever. It's diverse in its cultures, where we have we have a white and we have Asian and Hispanic, and there's so much diversity in so many different levels that it's endless potential. I would just hate for them to retheme it. I don't know. I think that would create maybe a bigger mess than it needs to be. Just do what you're doing now with the California, with the Disney IPs. I think we'll be fine. So we'll see. But since we're talking California,
now let me welcome everybody to the Wild Wild West.
There we go, Wild Wild West. All right, I always want to use that one, and I never could find the right time, and it was perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
Now let me welcome everybody to the Wild Wild West.
There we go. So Kaylee with 2 E's. How many churros can one get in one order? Is there a limit? Oh, that's interesting. I don't really go all out with the churros like that. I don't know. I've only ordered one at a time. I know our friend George. I know our mutual friend Mindy though. Mm-hmm. She likes
to double fist them. Yeah.
So I'm assuming. I mean, you can at least get two.
How do you dip it though? If you got two churros, does she not dip them at all? She just eats the churro.
I don't ever recall her seeing dip it. I mean, she may dip, but I mean, like, I just remember her just having like one in each hand and just.
That's wild, man. That's wild. Yeah, I don't know if there's a limit. I don't know why there would be though, because they can just like. I
don't think so, because if you have a family of 6, and I mean that's gonna cost you an arm and a leg just for churros. But I mean, I'm for sure that if each person wanted to have their own churro, I would assume you can get 6 churros.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. That's a wrap. 818. And no, George, we are not ending the show right now. That's a wrap. 818. Could it be possible to move the Monsters Inc. Dark Ride to Pixar Pier? Seems like the storage space behind the Incredicoaster, or it seems like there's storage space behind the Incredicoaster. Also seems like it's possible to make a pathway in between the back storage and the pier walkway. Yeah, where there's a will, there's a way. That's a wrap. I'm a firm believer of that. People were saying there's no way you can build a Star Wars land in Disneyland because there's no room. And then Disney said, you know what? We don't need all this backstage. We're going to bulldoze it, and we don't need the petting zoo. We'll bulldoze that too, and we'll fit Batu back there. If they want to do it, they'll figure it out, right? Now, the only issue, and look, I want to make it very clear. It doesn't mean it's impossible, but the issue or the challenge with that spot is, when I understand, there is a storage facility for the floats for the parade back there. Okay, I think it goes from there and it goes around, and there's another building over there by Cars Land. So there might be some issues with the parade building, but again,
are they ever gonna utilize that? Like, I mean, moving forward. Well, I mean, I guess they do it for Oogie Boogie Bash for like the parades.
Oh, we'll get parades again, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, like for DCA, do you think?
I think we'll get parades again. Yeah, I don't think they're gone forever. No, I mean, you feel like they might be?
I feel like that there are some. I mean, anything is possible, as you said, OG. But I feel like with DCA, I think it's a little bit more limit than Disneyland Park. Um, Although I will say, Paint the Night, I think would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it over a DCA,
Mhm.
the very limited amount of time that it was there, and I thought this just fits this park so well. It's so upbeat with the
Yeah.
Pixar theme. It was like it would be perfect.
And that was like a stressful time for me though. When there was the rumors about Paint the Night coming to DCA. Because along with the rumor that it was coming to DCA, there was the rumor that they were going to have to remove the overhead wires for the red car trolley on Buena Vista Street.
Mm-hmm.
Because the flows were too high or whatever. I was like, no, don't do that. Because you're taking away the atmosphere of this land all day long for a parade that's only going to be, like a small portion of the day or each night, I think that would have been a bad decision. They ultimately, from what I understand, they tweaked the parade. I think they added like an Incredibles float that was like shorter.
Yes. Yeah.
And they got rid of, what was it, like Frozen, I believe, or something like that. I don't remember exactly what they switched.
Yeah,
it
but
for.
they switched something on. Yeah,
and they kept the wires. I know that's a nerd thing. I get it, but like for me, the wires are what make Buena Vista Street feel more urban, and it separates it from Main Street.
Back in that time.
Yeah,
like when they actually had the red car trolleys. Yeah.
Exactly. Friend of the channel, all the way from the UK, sends €2 super chat. Thank you so much, Matthew. We appreciate and love you so much, brother. We have a great video actually coming out. It'll release on the 19th with Matthew. We break down his version of the Once Upon a Studio short. He put a lot of work into it. We talked to him about it for like 45 minutes, right, George? For quite a while.
Yeah.
Really fun video. That's going to drop on the 19th, which is Friday. So make sure you check that out. Matthew,
awesome. We look forward to that one.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Really, really fun stuff. Thank you, Matthew. BJ Vincent here says there are Walt Disney World resorts that there are Walt Disney World resort hotels that abandoned, like Disney's Grand Venezia Resort. Reminds me of the now Tokyo Disney Sea Hotel Miracosta. Wow, that's nice. Are there any that you wish they would reconsider and build? What about you, Slimer? What are your thoughts on that? Any canceled projects?
So yeah, the Grand Venezia Resort would be really cool. But I think the Walt Disney World at this point has gone past the classic design of the Disney resorts, and now they're leaning more into highly themed, highly immersive resorts. And I think, just from a business perspective, that's going to be the way forward. We already have a lot of the relaxing vacation style resorts at Walt Disney World. I don't think we need another one of those. I would like to see a Star Wars Land hotel. Personally, I would probably take the Valley resorts, and I would retheme those because I think they're just they're tacky. Like when you go into All Star Sports or when you go into Pop Century. Pop Century is not so bad. Or you go into Disney Animation, they just have there's just a 90s feel to them that they just can't shake. So what I would do is I'd retheme those into Star Wars or Haunted Mansion or a couple of the, it doesn't always have to be Star Wars. It can be like Star Wars and some other Disney IP. But what about you, George?
So for me, well, first, I think that would be awesome, especially with me being an Italiano. I mean, I would absolutely eat up in that resort. Like that'd be my jam.
Absolutely.
But I do agree with you. I think Disney is kind of getting out of the way of just kind of like basing the hotel just on one specific culture, so to speak. I remember like back in, not that I actually personally remember, I wasn't born yet, but I mean, like when they were having the creation of Walt Disney World, and they had the Magic Kingdom loop where they were supposed to have an Asian hotel,
right?
The Venetian hotel, which is now in Las Vegas, and a Persian hotel. I believe there was one more, but I can't remember what it was. But I know it was an Asian, a Persian, and the Venetian, and they all got scrapped, except, as I said, the Venetian moved over into Las Vegas. I just feel like Disney is going to kind of stick to, what they know best, and that's like heavily drawn IP. And I think that's what's going to draw people, for the hotels that they have now, like for the Grand Floridian, the Contemporary, Animal Kingdom Lodge, the Yacht and Beach Club, Caribbean Beach. I think like those ones are pretty much set in stone because they've been there so long. But I think we're out of that time frame where they're going to just add in another kind of hotel like that. I think the next ones moving forward, they will be heavily IP driven.
And to your point, George, they tried that with the Riviera. You know, the Riviera is a very, French themed resort, and it bombed. I mean, there's people that stay there, not to say that it always has a vacancy, but
it's very expensive, and honestly, it's really nothing to kind of gawk at, really.
I would, you know what, Mike, I have a goal of staying at every resort, but I'm going to axe that one off the list and pretend that I stayed there just so I don't have to spend the money to stay there. But there's nothing enticing about it other than the fact that it has a connection to the Skyliner, but that's not worth it.
What's your thoughts on Coronado and the Destino Tower?
Oh, great. Especially for the money. I mean, if you can stay in Destino Tower for under $350, it's a pretty good deal. I think that's a really great resort. I think the location's fantastic. It's a little out of the way. I mean, but you hop on a bus if you don't have a vehicle. It's no big deal. You'll be at Magic Kingdom or Epcot in 5-10 minutes. But I'm a really big fan of that resort. I think that for the prices that they charge, you do get deluxe resort amenities and quality. Which is why, again, I can't justify the Riviera, because Destino, for all intents and purposes, it's like right up there in terms of what you're getting with what you're paying. Now, if you can stay at Animal Kingdom, the Polynesian, Fort Wilderness Lodge, those are the ones to stay at, and you can get really good deals there too. But the only thing that's going to really bring those prices down is if they build, 3 or 4 additional resorts to what they have now that'll increase the supply and drive down the demand, because the demand does get pretty nuts during the summers.
Polynesian, we stayed there this past summer, George, and I love that hotel. It's basically the Tiki Room Resort is basically what it is. Yeah. Although I will say, though, this is interesting. The hotel, I loved it. I thought it was amazing. Mm-hmm. Weirdly enough, though, I think I like Disneyland's Trader Sam's more.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm right there with you, OG.
Yeah.
Are you with me on that one?
Oh, absolutely. I love Trader Sam's at Walt Disney World, but in comparison to Disneyland's, because I did Walt Disney World's Trader Sam's first before Disneyland's.
Right,
so
right.
When I finally experienced Disneyland's, I was like, oh, this is a no-brainer. Like, which is weird because you think like the Polynesian would have like the craziest Trader Sam's ever. And it really doesn't. It's kind of strange, but the resort though is incredible. I mean, A+ for me overall. I absolutely fell in love with it. BJ Vincent, but it's humid as hell though. I will say that. It's like, oh my god,
man! I'll tell you what, dude.
It's wild. With all the plants and everything, man. Even the windows were like, I had these like
sweating.
Little, even the windows were sweating. It was crazy. Yeah. BJ Vincent here says, but when the Disney company gets through this slump, where would you like to see them build a new domestic theme park resort? I feel since Walt wanted to originally build in Louisiana, they should build there. The thing with Louisiana, though, it's a little too close in proximity with the Florida one. Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily go there.
I think this is...
I would say Texas.
You can kind of go back and forth. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If they were going to build something other than Florida and California, I would do Texas. But again, I would still be very cautious with that, because this is now what Universal is going to be going through, because they're choosing a lot of different locations.
Right. And
you don't want to over cannibalize. But I feel like in time, if they did, I would say Texas.
I mean, Texas, I would agree with George. Like, I wouldn't do it at all. I think that you don't want to like go too far too fast, and you can do that. Like, we've said this many times with Universal. It's awesome as a fan to hear about this new park and that new park, but sometimes too much can water your brand down and do damage. We've seen it with the MCU, with Disney, with the films. They were like, yeah, you like 2 movies a year, or how about 6? It's like sometimes it sounds good at the time, but then it does long term hurt you. Universal is sort of, I think, kind of skating on that a little bit. Like, we're not sure yet, but we'll see. Personally, I think we're fine the way it is with California and Florida. I like Disneyland Resort to get a third park, I'd put it right there in the Toy Story lot. We got 75 acres right there. You know what I'm saying? I know I've never said it on the show before, but I think that Westcott would be a great idea, you know?
You know, it'd be a really great idea for the Disneyland Resort would be a 1930s, 1940s themed hotel.
Oh, that'd be dope, dude. That'd be super cool. Yeah, like that'd be fantastic.
Yeah,
I
like
would
you want
love
to
that.
lean really hard, like Burbank, 1940s Disney World Resort. You know, 1944s and Chevys parked outside. Just lean into the golden era of movies.
Yeah,
And
man.
I think that would attract a lot of people, especially with the Murphy beds. I mean, like Murphy beds play right into that. I mean, that's
I do love that idea, Slimer. Honest, and our good friend Mindy would absolutely love it because the 30s, 40s, and 50s, like that's her era.
that's her
Well,
bag.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, she said that she was born in the wrong time.
Well,
You can't go wrong with mid-century design and decor.
Yeah.
dude, and if you go to the 30s and 40s, you can have, we talked about Trader Sam's at the Poly, you could have the Roger Rabbit Ink and Paint Club at your resort, Slimer.
There you go. There you go.
Money on the table, everybody. Money on the, that would be fantastic. I would love
That
it.
deserves a money drop.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That might even deserve 2 money drops. Here we go.
I got my mind on my money and my money on my mind. Yo, it ain't really work if you're proud. Give me the drop, some money, dropping on my money, drop some money.
There we go. The lovely ladies of Blackpink make their appearance today on the live.
But I have to say really quick, OG, I do love that Westcott idea. I don't know why you haven't mentioned it before. Like
I know, right?
I know.
I know. It would just be fantastic, you know. I know. I'm blowing minds today.
OG's like, hi, my name's OG. Have you heard of our Lord and Savior Westcott?
Yeah, exactly.
Handing out Westcott pamphlets.
Exactly.
In Westcott we trust.
There we go. Exactly. I will never forgive Michael Eisner for that. I will never forgive him. Matthew Murr, all the way from the UK. Do you think in Once Upon a Studio that a botched attempt at the group photo was inevitable? I personally think it was because although everyone was bright and chipper or chirpy prior to Goofy's accident, I'm sure all these characters could feel an almost tangible sense of gravity and importance, giving them a feeling of slight anxiety. I'm not sure what. Okay, well, it says further to that, I'm sure that even if there was no accident at all, some of the characters could have easily just cracked under pressure, necessitating a new rendition of When You Wish Upon a Star. Okay, yeah. I mean, look, Matthew. I mean, like I said, we do like a deep dive into Matthew's idea for that scene on Friday. I don't necessarily think it was a botched attempt. Like, I really like that short. I really enjoyed it. Now, Matthew's idea is fantastic. It really is. But I don't think what we currently have is necessarily bad, though. What do you think, George?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. To Matthew's credit, I mean, I give him kudos for actually sitting down and literally taking the time and coming up with his own thoughts and rendition. You know, very creative. Honestly, I got to give it to him on that. But aside from that, of what Disney did give us, I still think it was played very well for the short. It's I love the animation style. I love how they incorporated many different types of animation and how they brought all the characters together. So for me, I still thought it was done really well.
Yeah. What about you, Slimer?
I haven't done a meta-analysis on any of the intentionality behind what the artists were attempting to convey with specific scenes in the short in particular. I haven't gone that far with that, but Matthew, I'll take your word for it because I probably won't. I mean, unless I really have some time to do it. But yeah, if there's anything else you think that I have done a meta-analysis on to that degree, just let me know. We can discuss it, but not with that one in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tayo here says, and Tayo, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you. Always good to see Tayo in the chat. Says here, hey everybody, first question of the night. Did you know that the Disney Parks products and experiences got another name change? Now it's just Disney Experiences, Disney Parks. Yeah, I did, Tayo, and I support that change 1,000%. Because I make content all the time, and I never could get that long name correct. I always would miss whatever. It was terrible. Disney Experiences, it fits everything. It fits the attractions, the parks, the cruise lines. It's all under one word. It's easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I'm all for it. I think it's a much better, more concise name for it. What do you think, George? You like that, or you like the old one, the Disney Parks Products Experiences?
That's too much, and it's like inspired by.
Inspired by Moana. That was the last one.
No, I'm right there with you. Disney Experiences. It's like it's short, it's sweet, it cuts right to the chase of what it means. It's, as you said, OG.
Yeah.
It covers the parks, it covers the cruise line, it covers the consumer products, it covers experiences. Like overall, it's like overall experience. So it's like it's perfect. Disney Experiences. That's what we need.
But don't get married to the name, because this is like the 5th name change. So we'll see. We'll see how long it sticks around. Hopefully this one sticks around forever. But the amount of times they've actually changed the name of that department.
True. It's true. Yeah, don't get mentally married to it, because you never know. Next year might be gone. Might be something else. Tayo here says, any Disney cruises soon, George? You booking an inaugural sailing for the Treasure? ?
Okay, so great question. By the way, thank you for that. I love talking Disney cruise. So perfect question. I was actually considering on doing the inaugural on the Treasure. The only thing that stopped me was because of the time frame that they're doing the inaugural, which I believe is December 21st, which is 4 days right before Christmas, and it's like not really a good time. I mean, I think it would be phenomenal to actually have an inaugural on a brand new ship, like actually on Christmas. That would be awesome, but it's just not in the cards for me. However, I am gonna make it my business to experience the Disney Treasure. However, I do have 2, not one, as Iger says. I have 2 Disney cruises in the pipeline. I'm going on one. One in 2024, which is in September. I'm going with a coworker, my coworker's brother, who is a huge cruiser as well, and he has been on one Disney cruise. He was on the Fantasy 7-night. I believe it was a 7-night Western Caribbean on the Fantasy, due to me to encourage him to go on it, and he loved it. So he actually invited me on to join him for another 7-night Caribbean cruise, and I thought, how can I turn that down? I got invited to go on a Disney cruise. Who would ever turn that down? And then in 2025, I believe it's May, it's on the Disney Magic, where there's going to be stops at Castaway Cay and at Lookout Cay as part of Lighthouse Point. So that's going to be on the Disney Magic. And also with that cruise, this guy right here is going to be joining. So that's going to be a good time.
Oh, yeah. And we'll try not to run up the alcohol bill that high this time, George.
Of course.
Like the last time, man. That caught me off guard. I was like, wow.
That caught me, yeah. You don't think it. It's like, oh, yeah, just like run. Because what it does with the cruise is like they just charge it to your tab, so to speak, and you don't get the bill until at the very end. And when you get that bill, man, it's like, whoo.
I'm telling you, man. It's crazy. Mr. Matthew Murr here says, who is your absolute favorite Disney voice actor? I've got several. Jennifer Hale as Cinderella, Jeremy Irons as Scar, Jodie Benson as Ariel, and Tamara Morrison as Chief 2. You know what? I would have to go Jim Cummings. He's the voice of Pooh, Darkwing Duck. Mm-hmm. My childhood was wrapped around in his voice work on TV. You know what I'm saying? I absolutely I love Jim Cummings. What say you, Slimer? Who's your favorite Disney voice actor, actress?
It probably sounds like a cop-out, but Walt Disney.
Okay, no, that's nice. That's fair. That's completely fair. What about you, George?
I have to agree with you, OG. I think it's Jim Cummings, and I'm going to add one more to it because it was pretty much of a tie. Is also Corey Burton. Who also worked with Jim Cummings on a lot of projects, such as the shows part of the Disney Afternoon. They worked together on Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. Corey Burton also does a lot of the voiceover work in the parks. He's the voice part of the Silly Symphony Swings. Mm-hmm. He has done voiceover work in the Haunted Mansion. And he's currently the voice that replaced Hans Conried as Captain Hook.
Nice.
Nice. Do you guys know if Mel Blanc ever did any voice work for Disney?
Oh, that's
he
a good
did.
question.
He did one.
Oh,
He did one, oh gosh, I know this story. It's gonna hit me like a ton of bricks.
Well, why you think about that? Mel Blanc, by the way, greatest
Voice actor,
the
I think.
best.
Yeah, him and June Foray, I think, like them two, like
Mhm.
were. But Mel Blanc, I think he actually did. Oh, I know what it was. He actually worked with Disney, I believe, one time, and he did the hiccups sound effect for Gideon in Pinocchio.
Of course he did.
It's
Because only
crazy.
could do a hic. Because only Mel Blanc could do a hiccup, like the way that Walt Disney wanted him to do a hiccup.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that was
It's
his
amazing.
big spotlight moment in Disney history. He did Gideon's hiccups in Pinocchio.
Imagine the demand. Like we need a really good hiccup. Well, Walt, anybody can do a hiccup. Here, I'll go do a hiccup. No.
No,
I
no.
want Mel Blanc to do my hiccups. All right.
Yeah, exactly. We want the best. No one's doing those hiccups with Mel. That's so funny. Hold on one second. Before we move on to our next question, bro, I gotta do this for Slimer, dude. Hold on one sec. Slimer, I gotta show you something, brother. This is so good. This is what George was talking about. Okay, hold on. Give me just a second. Like with your arm matched up to Spider-Man. Bro.
Oh, it's backwards. Oh yeah, no, there it is. Yeah, I see it.
It's seamless,
perfect.
dude.
That's awesome.
And even the pecs, the whole thing, dude. Look
Yeah,
at
it's
it.
like right where everything needs to be where it needs
That's
to be.
cool.
It's like that's
That's cool.
great.
It is so good, brother. It is so good.
That's trippy.
Yeah, and then we got Barry Plays 28 from the channel. Bob from Barry Plays 28. He's live from Disneyland. Bob,
Awesome.
have a great time at Disneyland. Enjoy, my friend. And
I'm
subscribe
jealous.
to Barry Plays 28. He does fantastic content, friend of the channel. Kenzie's Fairy Tale. Out of all the Disney cruise line ships, which one would y'all recommend for someone's first Disney cruise? Kenzie, here's the thing. Like, okay, I recently went on my very first Disney cruise. About a little over a year ago. It was November of 2022. And my first cruise ship was the Wonder. And it was from San Diego to Mexico. And I absolutely loved it. I went with my family. We had a great time. That ship it's not like, it wasn't like super old, but it's on the older side, right, George?
Correct.
It was like the third
it was
one.
the number second to the Magic.
But
It
I
was
mean,
built
like,
second to the Magic.
so there was Magic was the first one, then the Wonder?
Then Wonder, correct.
Okay, so it was number 2. Go ahead, Simon.
That was
How
it.
old are
Magic
those?
was number 1. So Magic, Wonder, Dream, Fantasy, Wish, Treasure, Adventure, and then whatever the third one's going to be.
And then to answer your question, Slimer, it's like, what was it? Magic was what, 1998?
1998. Wonder was 1999.
We're getting up there.
So actually, I agree with OG. I think honestly, for a first timer, Disney. I mean, I wouldn't say that has to be like the rubber stamp. Like you could only do that. I mean, any opportunity you can get on a Disney ship, take a Disney cruise, please. I
Yeah.
highly recommend it. I can't say it enough. But if you wanted to kind of start off, kind of dipping your toes in, not to, no pun intended. Start off with one of the older OG smaller ships. Honestly, the
Yeah.
Disney Magic or the Disney Wonder.
And he
they're
doesn't
phenomenal.
mean a literal OG ship. I don't have a ship.
Yeah,
so.
he doesn't have a ship. Trust me, if he had a ship, trust me, we wouldn't be here.
No. I'll tell you what, though. If we did have an Orange Grove 55 cruise ship, the horn would sound like this.
Live from the SS Orange Grove.
Yes.
And then the two funnels would be designed to kind of match your hair, so
Right,
it would like
exactly.
just be the.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be great.
It'd be perfect.
fantastic.
It'd be perfect.
And then
And really
yeah.
quick. One last thing. I'm sorry. If we had an OG ship, you'd be hearing it like from the other ships. They'd be cranking out like the welcome to the Wild West. Like it'd be cranking
yeah.
like a boombox.
Yeah.
Like it'd just be. Like,
it's a West Coast ship. It has to be.
yeah,
It has
You'd
to
be
be.
saying it'd be like on a hydraulics.
Hydraulics. Great. That'd be so good. Candy Camper here, friend of the channel. We love
What's up,
Candy
man?
Camper.
Candid.
Awesome to see you in the chat, my man. And then Kaylee here, smash the like button for eternal good luck. Thank you, Kaylee. We appreciate that. And she continues here, Kaylee with 2 E's and a flower, says, do you think they should adapt the Kingdom Keepers book into a movie or TV show?
Yes. 100 times yes.
That is,
Kingdom Keepers.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it's this awesome book series by Ridley Pearson. I was honestly addicted to this book series. It was like about 15 years ago I started reading it. There's like, I think there's like 6 or 7 books in the series. It's about a group of kids that have gotten chosen, that they have like these holograms made of themselves. They're kind of like the showcase in the Magic Kingdom. Now, mind you, this is also during the time when they had the virtual Magic Kingdom, the virtual Magic Kingdom game that you used to have on the PC. And it's basically what happens in the parks after dark when the gates close and everything, and the Disney villains come out to play, and it's an awesome book series. And
so like Night in the Museum,
basically, Disney-fied style. Yeah,
I could do that. That sounds like a great idea.
Do they need reservations?
No, not one word. I don't think that one word of reservation is in those books. And to think, if they were made today, that's probably all you would see.
So they're good to go nights.
They're good to go nights.
Yeah, yes. Exactly. I like your joke on Twitter about good to know dates, Summer.
Yeah.
If you can go ahead and share that with the class, we'd appreciate that. That was funny.
My seat just dropped. That was funny. I don't remember how I phrased it exactly. Like, I don't know. Go to my Twitter and look it up, guys. I posted it a couple days ago.
It was good.
I don't remember the joke exactly, but
you said something to the effect of, like, you don't need good to go days. You need good to know days, because when you look at it, it's good to know that I need a reservation.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said, because there's like 3 good to go days next month, and then in March there's none. So you still need to make a reservation, which is, that's whack, man.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. That was a great tweet, though. A+.
Oh, thanks.
Florentine Sings here says, do we think Epic Universe needs another City Walk? It does not look like there will be. I don't think it will be advancing forward if there was 2, unless a new look. Yeah, I'm not like, man, I don't believe there's a City Walk element to that project. I think there's 2 hotels. There's like the value one, which is like the in my opinion, the kind of the ugly looking Candy Crush building. I'm not a huge fan of that. People love it, and more power to you. It's not my thing. And then there's like the high end hotel, which I think is going to look way better. Well, obviously it's the high end one, so they're going to put more money into it probably. But that one's like in the park, and then they have the park. I think it's just the 2 hotels in the park. I don't think there's a shopping center attached to it. Yeah,
I don't think so. They didn't make any announcements that there was going to be.
I would be surprised if they have all that space, because the space inside the interior, the spoke of Epic Universe, is just so massive, and for them not to have a shop strip somewhere in there, to me, it's a complete miss. Yeah, that's a missed opportunity, especially with the hotels there.
Yeah, there should be something. Yeah, I just haven't heard of anything. But I'm sure there's some way, because I do know too with Epic Universe, the way the park is laid out and designed, that spine of the park is like they're kind of like the main corridor. They can sort of block off the lands and just have people going into that main section. Remember they were talking about that at one of the quarterly earnings calls? Right, yeah. And so you can have shopping in there without allowing people into the lands. If they didn't pay for the park, you don't get into the lands, but you can do that shopping in the middle. Maybe that's what they're going to do. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not as versed in Universal, but that's a great question. I'm going to look into it, because that might be something we're talking about in a future video. Mr. Theme, the one and only Mr. Theme Park Casual is in the house. Let's get this man some ice cream, shall we?
I don't know. Fly Casual.
There we go. Casual is in the chat. We love Casual. Tayo here says, have you ever done a bar crawl either on the Skyliner or monorail? The Skyliner in particular has some great stops for it. Well, I didn't do a bar crawl, but George got really messed up at the Polynesian and walked onto the monorail drunk, if that counts.
I did that was fun. Yeah. To my credit, though, I didn't know like how drunk I was gonna get, because I had 2 beers.
Yeah, you did.
I had a specialty drink, and then it was that drink that when OG wanted that Polynesian souvenir cup. Yeah, right there. That thing. Yeah. That thing costed me, because it was like, because it came with this like real exotic drink, and he said, you know what? He's like, I told him, I said, you're gonna get the souvenir cup, if you're gonna get the drink, don't just like waste it. I'll drink it. And that thing like was a concoction, man. I tell you what, it was like I ended up looking like that thing after I had that drink.
Telling you, man.
Trader Sam's is one of the it's one of the rare places in Disney World where you can get mixed drinks that isn't just pure sugar. Because there's so many. I mean, you go to Epcot, right? You go get your mixed drinks at Epcot, and you do your drink around the world, and by like your fourth or fifth drink in, you're probably about $60 deep, and you're like not even buzzed. And it's not that I'm a functioning alcoholic. It's literally they're skimping you on the alcohol because they're not even making the drinks. They're all pre-mixed.
Really, honestly, that is true because I have done the drinking around the world. I started in Mexico, and I think they do it so you can literally stretch it all the way across to the other side. Because then, if you do it correctly, by the time you hit Canada, you have someone pulling you by your ankle.
Hey,
now
George.
Go ahead, buddy.
Oh no, go ahead. Finish your thoughts, Slimer. I want to bring some up to George after you're done.
I'm good. I was just gonna say, you just get a couple shots of tequila in you in the Mexican pavilion. You don't even have to drink anywhere else. Just drink in the Mexican pavilion. Try to make your way out of the park. Good luck.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. Like it was. I mean, I'm glad I did the experience because it was like that whole notion of Epcot drinking around the world. But like just give me a couple shots in Mexico. I'm good.
Oh, what you do have to get though, you absolutely have to get the mules in Moroccan Pavilion. But goddamn, those things are expensive, man. Those are like $18.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
$18. I think that deserves a money drop. Hold on.
Yeah.
I think that's a money drop. We'll do a little something different this time.
Brand new money, brand new hundreds, got a bunch of zeros like a bag of new Funyuns.
There we go. 18. What I wanted to mention to you while we're on the topic of alcohol, the last show we did, we had a hard out at 2 hours. But our friend Mandy had a great question about what ride. Remember, we were going to answer it in the next.
Yes, we were going to. That's right.
And it relates to this. So I thought, why not do it now? What ride do you like to go on drunk, or what ride is good when you're drunk? So George, I'll start with you.
I think for me, and each person's different. I mean, there's people that can consume alcohol and go on anything, and they're practically fine. There's people that drink alcohol and they just look at a ride and they get sick.
And there's some rides that you need alcohol to get on.
Exactly. For me,
OG knows all about those.
Oh yeah.
We'll
talk about it.
For me, I absolutely loved. Now, I don't think I've actually gotten fully drunk and rode this, but I was highly buzzed, and I loved going around the People Mover. Just being completely buzzed.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could also see you being belligerent on the People Mover too, like leaning out, yelling at people.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you should have saw me speaking of. I don't know if I brought this story up, but I did that when I was sober, and it was like
great.
that the People Mover broke down. It just kept on. It was like start and stop, till eventually they had to get us all out, and they lined us up. Yeah. And we were walking the track to the exit, and where people were looking, people were actually videotaping us. So I'm on YouTube somewhere, and I turn and I was like, "See, now this is the real People Mover," because it was like we were literally moving ourselves, and it was like, "Yes, I'm on YouTube somewhere." Whoever posted the video of the People Mover being broken down. That they just lined us up. We were like the seven dwarfs. We actually all started kind of whistling the hi-ho. Some person started it in the front, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, this shit's too good. We're gonna keep this going right now."
Yeah,
fans do.
The best ride, like for me personally, like if you're kind of tipsy, you're feeling pretty good. I think is Radiator Springs Racers, because it's just like that kind of like. You're cruising, it's just the right amount of speed when you're kind of tipsy. It's the wind's hitting your face. It's just really, really fun. I love that ride when you're tipsy.
I can see that. What about Indiana Jones?
Ooh.
Oh, that one might be a little bit rough there.
Yeah. A little bumpy, right? A little bumpy. Yeah. Now the one that I need in order to get on it is actually the Ferris, the Pixar Pal Around, Ferris wheel at DCA.
Okay.
I went on that with you and tour guide Jackie, George, but we were in the stationary ones. But even that one, I was sitting across from Jackie, and I'm like, look, I got to keep my cool. We're in front of tour guide Jackie, you know what I'm saying? But I was internally like screaming. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna talk to Jackie. Just don't look down. so Jackie, you like being a VIP guy? You like this, that, and the other? You know, get my mind off of it. It was stressful.
So wait a minute, OG. Are you saying that this is somewhat of a confession? Are you saying you're guilty?
Oh, am I guilty? Oh,
guilty?
yeah. I would say I'm guilty. Hold on.
Guilty.
And that's that's the beauty of Family Guy. The things go for way longer than they should. It makes it hilarious.
Do you remember how long like Homer Simpson and Peter was? It was like, I don't know, record length fight, 17 minutes, 10 minutes, or some shit like that.
And it just kept going and going, and then you think it would stop, and it would just start up again.
Yeah,
it's just so good. Or that one where Peter hits his knee.
Yeah,
he's like for like 10 minutes. Oh, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. But yeah, no, the Ferris wheel, especially the moving ones and stuff, I got to get a little something in my system to like enjoy it at all.
Yeah.
And the Incredicoaster, that one as well.
Yeah. And before we move on, OG, when you were talking about the Pixar Pal Around, when you said get on it, like the song that honestly popped in my head was Pony.
Oh,
the song,
Genuine?
Genuine, yeah.
Oh man.
My saddles. Ride
it. Yeah, exactly. Which is funny because the new character, or the new name for the character for the Country Bears, Romeo. Is it Romeo McGraw?
Romeo McGraw.
Totally 90s R&B like name. Romeo.
Yeah, that's
give this man an album, you know what I'm saying?
100%. So for me, Kelly, it's Cosmic Rewind is my new one. But before that, I don't know, probably Tower of Terror.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, is that one because you need it like liquid courage, or just like it's just more fun?
No, it's just more fun that way. The Aeros was a Rock and Roller Coaster. That's another really fun one too. Yeah. No, I don't need liquid courage, man.
You're good.
I skydive, man. I'm good.
You're like that calendar, man. You're good to go. You know.
Good to go.
He's going skydiving, Rocky Mountain climbing.
There you go.
George, have you ever been skydiving?
No, I've always wanted to though. I always wanted to try skydiving. The only thing that I worry about is actually not jumping out of the plane. It's like not jumping out of the plane, or not even. It's actually the landing, because I know. Yeah. Don't you have to kind of like, as you land, you have to like run?
No. So
is there a certain way how you have to land?
No, when you do a tandem jump, you're not going to land. The person that has the parachute is going to land.
Oh, so they'll do it for me?
You just put your feet up like this, and they land, and you're done.
Oh, hell, man, then I'd do it then.
Yeah.
I would have to go with somebody. I wouldn't trust myself to do it right. Yeah. Like, I need the expert behind me.
Man. Like, it's so fun. Like after you go skydiving, you ride your roller coasters like this. Like
you're just like
oh man. I mean, that's a crazy experience. So how many times have you done that, Slimer?
About 3 or 4 times.
Oh man. So that's why none of this stuff even phases you, dude. You're like, whatever, man. Yeah. I jumped out of a plane.
Well, some roller coasters still do, like Lightning Rod over at Dollywood. Holy shit, man. That roller coaster scared the shit out of us. Like your ass doesn't touch the seat the entire time, because the thing goes 74 miles an hour. And then when it makes turns, it's like this. Wow. That was an incredible roller coaster. Yeah.
Nice.
Crazy. Kaylee, with 2 E's, what kind of emotions or thoughts go through your head when you ride Mr. Toad? I just love that ride. I think it's a fantastic dark ride. One of Disney's best.
I will say the very first time I rode it, the thought that went through my head was I was very confused. Like at first, like, because I didn't know, like, after you come out of the hell scene, it's like, wait, that's it? That's how it ends? It's like you die, you go to hell, but it works, it fits, and you can never get another ride like that again, and it's perfect, honestly. I was so bummed when they took it out of Disney World. However, I will say that, I love just the notion that if I wanted to go on Toads, I go over to Disneyland.
There you go. And then it's kind of cool, too, because Toad has a track switch, right?
Oh, no! I must have hit that track switch!
It does have a track switch. Well, kind of. You're riding on the track, you get hit by the train or whatever.
Yeah.
I I had such a blast riding Mr. Toad's Wild Ride when I went to Disneyland a couple of years ago because I had not ridden it for probably about 30 years prior to that. And it's funny actually how much I remembered. But what goes through my mind is really the nostalgic memories.
Yes.
Trying to recapture all the the sights and the sounds from when I was a kid, going underneath the train or getting hit by the train. Is probably being the most notable scene, but yeah, it's for. Can you imagine tripping on like acid and riding that ride?
Oh,
Holy
man.
shit! But yeah, that'd be like a that to me is like a bad acid trip ride. If I had to put it like under any category, it's like it's weird. It's weird. It's
Well, and that might even kind of segue into like what we were talking about earlier with Maybe's question about what ride would you ride drunk. That might actually be a good one.
yeah. For sure.
I think that one would be a very comical one. Like if you go on with
Yeah.
someone who's like completely blitzed and they're like, "Oh my god, we just died. Oh my god, is this really what hell is?" Oh my
Well,
god.
when me and my friend rode and we went to Disneyland, we were laughing our heads off just because how ridiculous it is.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It'd be. Oh, come on. You're in one of those vehicles with all your buddies, and you're all kind of tipsy. It'd be the funnest thing in the world. You'd be joking
Yeah.
around. It'd be great. It'd be
Awesome.
great. A friend of the channel, Alia Aloha, is in the house. Alia here says, I think these Pixar films are being re-released as, number one, an apology to Pixar for the pandemic streaming actions. That's interesting, and you're probably onto something with that, Alia, because morale at Pixar has been on the decline since that whole streaming situation under Bob Chapek and all that. There might be an element here with that. Very smart observation. Number two, just to have something in theaters until Kingdom of the Apes in May. And then she continues, to be fair, Oppenheimer's re-release made slightly less than Soul's. Also, Soul's re-release wasn't a wide release, only 1K theaters. See? And this is why we love Alia. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Alia. That's interesting. I didn't even know Oppenheimer got a re-release.
I didn't know
Yeah,
either.
Me neither.
That's fascinating. And only 1K theaters. Yeah. So there's a lot of elements here. Absolutely.
Leave it to Alia for the scoops.
Man, Alia.
She's on point.
Yeah, she is. Absolutely. Always on point. Let me find the next question here. Give me 1 second, boys. Kind of go through these. Here.
Which, by the way, while OG's getting that, thank you to everyone for partaking into the live. We love your questions, comments, everything. So it's phenomenal.
Absolutely. Okay, so maybe here's makes a great comment about George. Speaking of chowing down, George's fit eats. You got some style, George. And when we have maybe in the house, we gotta drop the maybe drop.
Absolutely.
Cause I'm that girl that drives you crazy, but you're killing me alone. Got you thinking maybe alone. Got you thinking maybe alone. Got you thinking maybe.
Oh, there we go. Maybe.
But thank you very much. Maybe I do appreciate the compliment. And yes, I am the other white meat.
The other white meats. Hilarious. Mr. BJ Vincent. Hey, OG, Slimer, and George. What Disney cover songs would you like to hear by what group? For example, I've heard numerous rock covers for Pirates of the Caribbean, Hoist the Colors. Oh, man, this is a tough one, BJ. I don't really know. I mean, well, where's your headspace at with this, George? What are you feeling? You want to do a whole new world with Phil Collins or what?
What Disney cover song would you like to hear by what group?
It's tough, right?
Yeah, that is very tough. I will say there were songs I loved how they did with the Disney Mania CDs that I grew up where you had like the Disney Channel stars and other artists that kind of recreate the Disney songs. I loved I don't know if either one of you or anyone in the chat are familiar. The brother group B5, they did their rendition of Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? Big bad wolf. I love that. And they added a little bit like of a hip hop rap, like that's the kind of rap that I enjoy. Like I love how they interpreted that. And there was another group that did Second Star to the Right by Peter Pan that they actually play during the music loop when you go into the amphitheater for Fantasmic. I just forget the name of the group that sings it. As far as something completely different, yeah, I would actually have to pick. I would love to hear a different rendition of my favorite song, A Whole New World, just to kind of see like where it can go. But it has to be done tastefully, because it's like you can't touch that song for me. Like that's like golden. Of who I would love to hear sing it, yeah, why not? OG, you were the inspiration of that. It's like, I mean, if he could do it, I would love to hear Phil Collins' rendition of A Whole New World.
Right? I mean, that wouldn't be too shabby. Not shabby at all.
Yeah.
What about you, Slimer? Who would you enlist?
So I'd like to hear Richard Cheese sing "Grim Grinning Ghosts." Do you know who Richard Cheese is? The lounge singer.
I do not. No.
Yeah, so he's a lounge singer. What he does, he takes rock and metal songs and turns them into lounge songs.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, YouTube Richard Cheese. He's really funny. And then I don't know. Like I probably want to hear. I want to hear Primus's take on "It's a Small World."
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. For me, actually, this actually exists, and it's one of my favorite renditions of your favorite song, George, "A Whole New World." But it's her name is Zavia Ward, and then the gentleman's name is Zane from New Direction.
Yes, that was part of the soundtrack for the live action Aladdin. I love that rendition. Yes,
it's amazing, absolutely amazing. So that's kind of like, I consider that kind of a cover. I mean, because it's not the original, but love that, absolutely love that. One of my favorite versions of it. And I think Becky G actually does a version of it too. And it's like,
oh God, who doesn't love Becky G?
Come
on.
You know what I'm saying?
I am so upset. I just missed her. I remember I left Disneyland, and then she posted on. I think it was either her Instagram account or her TikTok or something. She was in front of the Millennium Falcon at Galaxy's Edge, and I thought, dang it, if I would have just stayed just like 2 days longer.
Right, exactly. And give me 1 second. Having a little bit of tech issues here. Give me 1 second, boys. Okay, so Mariana Barber here says, "Hey guys, I asked you this question on the previous stream, but you weren't able to get to it. I do apologize for that, Mariana. Yeah, last stream we had was we had a hard out, so we couldn't get to everybody's, but I'm glad you were able to make it back in. What's your take on the Star Wars announcements? Genuine or damage control to SOC's comments on New Year's Eve?" That's a tough one. I mean,
I think it could be a little bit of a mixture.
It could be, yeah, because we've been hearing rumors of a Mando movie for a little while now. I mean, we've been hearing that. So I think that it was on the table. I think that maybe, look, it's a smart decision. I said before, I mean, you don't want to start the first Star Wars movie out the gate after so many years, since 2019, right? We haven't had a Star Wars movie. By the time this thing comes out, it's going to be a while. You don't want that first movie to be Rey, because Rey is a divisive thing. And I like her character, and I think there's potential there, but not everyone does. You don't want to go out there with something divisive. Mando is kind of an everybody franchise. Like, your grandma would love Mando, you know what I'm saying? Because of Grogu and all that. Like, it's safer. So why not start with that?
But for me, too, I don't think it was a coincidence of how we kept on hearing about the Rey movie, and then, of course, the comments that came out during that interview, what have you, and then now it's kind of like not saying that they're punishing the Rey movie, but I think
there's damage control is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think
absolutely.
I think that there is a reason to say, you know what, this isn't the right time. And to your point, OG, of what we talked about before when we did our video on the Star Wars news, it is strategic, but I think tied to the strategic, I think it's also the point of saying, you know what, we can't go down this rabbit hole any further. We're already in the shitter with so many controversial things that are going on within the company right now.
Right.
We have to pull it back, but let's turn it into something positive, and let's give them what really we should have been doing in the beginning, and that's Mando and Grogu.
As a caveat to that, George, the decision to go with a Rey movie right out of Rise of Skywalker being the last Star Wars movie, that's really indicative of the leadership at Lucasfilm. And I think it's a little tone deaf, because it seems like, up until the announcement of the Mando and Grogu movie, they really had no issue with their decision. Plus, it seemed like they were perfectly fine with all the comments that SOC made, even though these were older prior comments.
Yeah.
But the fact that that was the direction that they went with at the outset, like OG pointed out, shows, one, that the leadership is pretty, I would say, I don't want to say incompetent, but kind of a little bit incompetent, because you have to take certain things into consideration, like what's the temperature of the Star Wars audience. You have to know like your says and do's, and you have to be able to read the room, You have to. Lucasfilm is in a position right now where they have a lot of lost ground to make up with the Star Wars fan base. Personally, I like the sequel trilogy, but I 100% agree with OG that out of the gate going with another Rey movie was not the way to go. I'm excited for another Rey movie, but not everybody is. You know, I'm one person. You know, there's millions of people out there that you know, either are lukewarm with Rey or just outright dislike her completely.
Right.
So yeah, and George, I agree. I think that the Mando Grogu, man, the timing it's not coincidental. That was definitely damage control. But I bet I wish I was a fly on the wall in Lucasfilm to hear the squabbling between leadership over there, because I can guarantee you there's a circle of creatives, there's a circle of leaders that are shaking their heads, like they close the door and they go, what the hell is she doing? What the F? Like, really?
Right.
That's the first movie that we're going to announce? This is, you know, like, it's a no-brainer. You start with the Mando movie. Like, you know, Dave Filoni just became the chief creative officer. Why are we going with the Rey movie first? You know, the Rise of Skywalker made, you know, what, $1.5 billion less than The Force Awakens. So
you want to kind of do it at the time that the Mandalorian is still relevant.
Right.
And I say that in the sense because season 3 was not as hot as the first 2 seasons. And if they let it stretch out any longer, there's the fear that, okay, as time goes on, is people going to lose interest? So it's like you got to have to kind of grasp those people back and say, you know what, we're going to do a feature-length film.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. And by putting Ahsoka in between that and the movie, that kind of bridges the two together and it doesn't make it feel like it's their last game, but more like a continuation with a little bit of a lull. But hey, we're really going to pick it up in the Ahsoka season 2 and absolutely going to knock it out of the park with Mando.
And that also ties into some of the theme park news. You know, they're adding new scenes to Star Tours and what have you, so that'll kind of help carry along the story and keep that attraction relevant. Because I mean, having Galaxy's Edge, I mean, there's only so much that more you can do with Star Tours. So it's like if you're going to add Ahsoka, then you're going to have to keep her relevant.
And here's the thing too, is that as Filoni's moving up the ranks over there at Lucasfilm, and so is Favreau, obviously. I think a Rey movie down the road is good in that it might do what the Clone Wars did for the prequels, where you start to have this ancillary material to the main trilogy, and you can sort of improve the trilogy through this other material, right? Like the Clone Wars did for the prequel. I think in concept, that's a good idea. But I don't think it's a good idea right now. And I think that you wait a few years, you wait till Kennedy leaves, and you have Filoni, who's probably going to have even more control in a few years than he does now. And you have Filoni and Favreau do that Rey movie. And now you're cooking with some gas. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And the beautiful thing about Filoni now being the chief creative officer is that he gets to dictate how much authority and how much control Jon Favreau has over his film. So any directives coming from Kathleen Kennedy are going to have to be filtered through Filoni first and foremost, which is perfect. That's exactly what you want. And I think that the C-suite is going to be looking at that, and they're going to make a decision based off of the relationship that, Dave Filoni's new position, but his ability to be effective so that other directors can come in, and so that way they can execute a vision that is true to their story, but also tell Star Wars in high quality ways. Because as we know, Kathleen Kennedy has had a lot of fumble with grade A directors that they have brought in, who they later on fire, and then they have to reshoot half the film, doubling the production budget of the movie. And so, I mean, she's not the best when it comes to building relationships with directors, whether they're independent directors that they're bringing in to build, to do a blockbuster movie, or whether they're blockbuster directors that are used to doing big budget films. So they need to build good relationships with directors if they want to continue to make really good Star Wars films. Because if the word on the street is Kathleen Kennedy is going to shoot down all your ideas, and they're going to fire you anyways, then why are you going to want to direct a movie for her? There's no incentive there, even if you have your name tied to Star Wars movie.
Yeah, who wants to jump into a Star Wars movie and then 50% into it, she lets you go, like Lord Miller with Solo, right? And that's a huge problem, a major problem. So interesting stuff happening over there. Very, very interesting stuff. Maybe here says do a Fantasia Gilby like crossover, and she goes on to continue here. I think this is a great idea, by the way. She says, "I love the little Grogu short they did with Gilby. Have you guys seen that? It's on Disney Plus, I believe. It's the
yeah.
Beautiful stuff. That would be awesome. That'd be awesome. I think working more with Gilby would be really great. I love what season 1 of Star Wars Visions, where they had all the Japanese anime studios kind of their take on the Star Wars universe was amazing, absolutely amazing. I don't know. This is a genius idea. What are your thoughts on this, George? You on board? You co-sign, brother?
Oh, absolutely. I'm already signed that signature, sign and date it, stamp of approval. That would be so freaking cool to kind of mesh both of those, with the animation and the storytelling. Oh God, that'd be so cool to kind of blend those two together.
Yeah. Official Star Wars manga has been long overdue. I mean, 30 years long overdue.
Yeah. No, yeah, I absolutely love this idea. I'm all about getting more of the Japanese creators on board. Actually, interesting little tidbit here. The gentleman, and I'm so sorry I don't know his name. The guy who the Japanese director who did the Godzilla -1 movie. Mm-hmm. He got invited to Lucasfilm recently.
Yeah, I saw that.
Did you see that from Dave Filoni? Yeah. And they had a screening for I think his movie at Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
At the studio. There's something more to that.
Make a Star Wars movie for $30 million. Go.
Yeah, exactly. And knowing this guy, it'll look better than all the other movies that were like 300 million. It's crazy what he did with Godzilla. Absolutely crazy. Mr. Ebba, or as Kaylee calls him, the Ebonata, is in the house. He goes, Poppy George looking fine with that Italiano chest hair. I agree. Look at George.
Thank you, Mr. Ebba.
Yeah, look at George. We actually got a video with Ebba coming out pretty soon too. Look forward to that. It's gonna be a really, really good time. Kaylee here says, why are there a bunch of random hair ties and rubber bands when you were on Everest right before you go backwards? That's a good question. What is that, Slime? What's going on there? Is that like good luck or what?
I don't know. I don't know why women feel compared to sling rubber bands and hair ties on on the side of a ride. But Kaylee, you tell me, what's up with that? What is with y'all?
What's going on?
I don't know what it is. I think it's just because it's the one point of the ride that you're in a sit still kind of moment, and it's almost like they want to like leave a piece of themselves on the ride forever, and it just became like one thing after another, where it just became a fad. Where it's like, okay, as soon as we get to this spot of the ride, give me a rubber band, give me a something, and and it just became one of those things that it's. And Disney just leaves them. The ride was done for a refurbishment, and they, as far as I know, they never cleaned them up.
Yeah, they clean them up, but the cleanups are few and far between.
I was gonna say, because each time that I go in, I like it doesn't look any change to me. But I guess for how many people that go on the ride, as they clean up 10, here comes 15 more.
In a weird way, though, it kind of fits the theme, right? It looks like a bunch of like explorers that got stuck up there, and like. You know what I'm saying? They left their hair bands behind or something. It kind of oddly works. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. It's better that than like if they were throwing gum or something, Sometimes I see that in the parks, like the gum is stuck to. That's really nasty, really gross. Yeah. Don't do that. Michael Ebba, the Ebonator, says, Slimer, this is for you, Slimer. Would you like to see a Ghostbusters land in a park like Universal? By the way, it's great to see our boy Slimer. Yeah, we always love having Slimer on. And actually, because Slimer is on, let's go ahead and drop the drop real quick before you answer that.
And all these dollars got commas that come with commas behind them. And all my slammers be slamming. And all my slammers be slamming. And all my slammers be slamming. And all my slammers be slamming.
There you go, brother.
That's Slimer drop.
There we go. So what do you think? Ghostbusters, would you be down for that?
Does a bear shit in the woods?
Yeah, exactly.
So apparently, Michael, the answer is no.
Right. Exactly. There we go. Michael Ebba, the Ebonator, continues. If Universal Orlando and Hollywood bring Pokemon, how should they do it? Just a ride, parade, or a land? And if a land, is it all one? Is it all in one from each generation, or land of one generational region?
Interesting.
You're the Pokemon guy. I personally think they should do a whole land, though, just based on how popular that franchise is. But George, you know more about the actual like show and stuff. Like, does it work?
That is actually interesting. If you kind of break down the lore of Pokemon itself, it's like, what do you stick with one generation? Do you do multiple generations? If you do a land, what is the land based off of? Because there's different. Do you make it more modern with like the stadiums, like for the tournaments and stuff? Do you make it more outdoorsy, where it's like you have like the earth tones, like with the forest and the water, where you actually catch Pokemon? That's a very interesting thing. As far as it being in the studios, because I believe that's where Pokemon would go, because it would be replacing The Simpsons. I would do it more like tournament style, because I think that would fit in better with the studio look. I think if you were to do something more organic, it would kind of throw off the look of it. I think if you were to do Pokemon and Islands of Adventure, you could probably get away with like something of like the forest, grassy water type thing. But I think, yeah, if you're doing it in the studios, I would do something more to the lines of like modern tournament style with the Pokemon.
Interesting. And Florentine sings, if I had to guess, Pokemon could be like Potter in all parks, different locations. One area could be geared more for young kids, another teens, another adults even. And very interesting. And
Yeah,
maybe he's on board. I want to ride like Pokemon Snap.
Maybe, yeah, that was actually that was rumored that if when people were talking about it, if Pokemon took over Marvel Superhero Island, that it would kind of, the Pokemon Snap would kind of take over where the Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man is. So they would still keep that same type of ride vehicle, the ride layout and everything, but they would incorporate it with Pokemon Snap.
Yep. Kaylee here says she loved the Care Bears. We're going 80s now. We're going 80s. Who's your favorite? Oh, sorry. Who's your favorite one? I love Bedtime Bear. Kaylee, I was actually pretty intrigued by the Care Bear cousins. I thought it was interesting how they brought in, like, remember the big lion and stuff. I thought it was kind of interesting because they kind of diverted away from the bear thing. I thought it was pretty creative. I don't know. What do you think, Slimer? Were you into the Care Bears at all in the 80s or not too much?
Yeah, I watched the Care Bears, but I stopped watching the Care Bears too. I'm just kidding, Kaylee. I don't remember any of their names, so don't ask me, man. I remember the bears and they shoot rainbows out of their chest. That's it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I watched the Care Bears too. I can't really remember them by name. Whatever one is the one that has like the rain cloud.
Okay,
he was my favorite.
Gotcha.
So whoever, Kaylee, if you know, I'm for sure you do. Whatever one is the rain cloud Care Bear. That's
nice. BJ Vincent, I do remember Silverhawks and Thundercats was done by Rankin Bass Animated Entertainment.
Yeah.
And 80s and 90s cartoons were the best. Did anyone see the animated series Mighty Max?
Mighty Max. Wow. God, did I forget about Mighty Max?
Bringing back some memories, BJ.
Yeah, you are. Actually,
Nice.
I remember Mighty Max, but do you guys remember? I'm going to show you something real quick.
Do you remember like the little micro figurines of Mighty Max with the little play sets and all that?
Yeah.
You guys remember Fantastic Max?
Yes, I actually do remember that. I used to. Oh crap!
No,
Back in the day?
I don't remember Fantastic Max.
No? He was
yeah, I remember his buddy there, the little yellow guy with the suit.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
It's weird. Old school cartoons. I think the cartoons back then were so good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, He-Man, all that jazz.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys know the cartoons were specifically made as marketing tools for the toys, right?
Oh, absolutely. That was the genius part of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep, 100%. Let me see here. I'm kind of going through here. I'm trying to get like a question. Oh, here we go. Got a question from Maybe. She's saying here, which Disney movie would you jump through the TV and live in if you could? Actually, maybe there's a couple. Number one, Lady and the Tramp. I would love to live like in their neighborhood. I think it was just that 1950s animation was just so like uplifting and positive looking. It was great. I would love to live in the Lady and the Tramp neighborhood. Also, Alice in Wonderland, like that opening scene when she's laying in the flowers, just looks so serene. Like that whole area was so beautiful. I would love to jump in there and live over there. So pretty much any movie with like a heavy Mary Blair influence, I'd be in there.
I think me would be the Princess and the Frog, but not like of the Bayou, but more of the New Orleans, like Mardi Gras kind of style. I mean, my shirt's already open, so I'm for sure I'd get like hell of a lot of beads.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, you would. Yeah, you would.
That was good.
What about you, Slimer? Which Disney movie would you jump in the TV if you could live there?
Man, I'm trying not to overthink it. Three Caballeros, man. I just want to be on that journey with them. I want to be the fourth Caballero with those guys.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah.
That movie's hilarious, dude. I gotta watch it again.
It's so good.
So good. BJ Vincent here says, after seeing the Walt Disney 100 Years of Wonder movie intro, I always thought it would make an excellent new Disney resort. That being said, if you were to name a new Disney resort, what would it be? For example, I was thinking Disney's Magic Kingdom. It's tough because I would have to kind of know, for example, like you would be if they were to build a new resort in Australia, the name of the resort would be different than like if they built one in Texas, right?
Right.
I would assume you'd want to incorporate the region into the name a little bit. So that's a tough one. I'm not really sure. What do you think, George? What would you name it? Disney's Sexy Chest Hair Resort or what?
Yeah. If it was going in Australia, I'd probably call it Disney Down Under.
That's what I'm thinking too. Yeah, like lean into that, you know.
Yeah, if it was in Texas, maybe like Disney's Lone Star or something like that.
Yeah.
I know it sounds kind of like, yeah. I know it sounds like kind of simple, like I'm for sure, but I mean, like Disney has come up with some, funky titles, so I'm for sure like something simple like that. Yeah, that's probably something I would do.
What about you, Slimer? Anything off the top of your head that you would think that it's tough because you don't know the location,
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to come up with a name that's not corporate. You know what I mean? Like, because anytime that you come up with a name that represents the city, town, state, municipality that they're in, then like by default, it's already corporate. Yeah, I think Aulani's probably an example because they didn't say Aulani Resort. It's just Aulani. So that's got like a nice, like roll to it. It doesn't come off as too corporate-y. But if I were to come up with a resort name, I built it in Florida, I'd probably call it Reservation Resort.
Reservation Resort, where you're good to go.
Where you're good to go.
That's good. Oh man. And maybe this is actually in response to our churro question earlier. How many churros can you buy? And I thought this was really funny. Kaylee, you just got to say, quote, "I'll take as many as you can legally give me." Fantastic. Yeah, I could see the black market churros, right? Like you see the dude with like the trench coat, he opens it up. Hey man, I got some churros here. How much you give me for these churros,
Yeah.
If you see a girl in Disneyland whose head is buzzing like Beavis when he drinks a cup of coffee, it's maybe.
And Haley XX or Harley, I'm sorry, Harley XXX. Do you think Disney would make a Nightmare Before Christmas ride?
I mean, they kind of do.
They kind of already have.
With Haunted Mansion.
I mean, hell, it's been more than the actual classic Haunted Mansion.
Right, I know.
Which actually is actually very true because when it goes down, it's going down as Haunted Holiday and it's coming back up as Haunted Holiday. So it's going to be like a period of time where you're not going to see the classic Haunted Mansion. Yeah, I think honestly it just works better as a temporary overlay. Yeah, I don't really see it as a permanent type.
Yeah, because when you're dealing with the holidays and stuff, like it gets like, who wants to ride a holiday ride, like a Christmas or Halloween ride in like July? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of weird, so it's a tough franchise. It's perfect for overlays though. Absolutely perfect for that. California Dreamin', will they ever invest in the Roger Rabbit franchise again? God, I wish they would.
I wish they would.
Well, they recently did in a really small way. They brought the judge back for what is it?
Oogie Boogie Bash.
Oogie Boogie Bash, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, an OG. I mean, I think we had it made, man, with the ink and paint bar and lounge.
Dude, I'm telling you, that's money in the bank, Disney. You could have like that giant octopus that's like, mixing the drink. Have a giant animatronic octopus behind the bar. That'd be so cool, man. I mean, it'd be awesome. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. The problem with Roger Rabbit, though, California Dreamin', is that it was a joint venture between Disney and like Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
So it's like all legally tied up, and it's just hard. And that's kind of why he kind of fell off, because, you know, Disney didn't like fully own the character. And so they just stopped using them and stuff. So unfortunately, it's a great movie. It's a great franchise. Love it. Absolutely love it. The Candy Camper here. Disneyland needs another water attraction. What IP would you use and where would you put it?
Way of Water.
Yeah, exactly. You read my mind. Way of Water. I mean, put it in Disneyland. That I've said so many times, where the Autopia motorboat area is and the subs, you know, get rid of all that, put Pandora there, and you can have a Way of Water attraction, like a big elaborate dark ride or something, you know. What is that? What kind of where you're at, George?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're going to do anything with water right now, it's the go-to is Avatar and the Way of Water, because you can incorporate anything with that notion. And yeah, I agree with you. Like right in between Fantasyland and Tomorrowland, it fits perfectly well. I just don't see or how it's going to mesh well with DCA. I think honestly, once we kind of get an idea of what the concept is in their mind, is it an attraction? Is it a land? Is it whatever this experience is supposed to be, then maybe it'll make more sense. But as of right now, I don't see it how it could fit well in DCA. So yeah, I definitely say where the motorboat area is, Autopia, the subs, you already have the lagoon. Keep the lagoon. You know, if you just decide to just take the subs out, just keep the lagoon for aesthetic purposes. I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah. Lovelow here says we should start a crowd funding for that OG55 cruise ship. Yeah, that'd be fun. I'm telling you, man, that'd be so fun. We got to get that going, you guys. Kenzie's Fairy Tale. What are each of y'all's favorite Disney coasters? Big Thunder is like my go-to. I love that one because it's like it's just thrilling enough. You know, that ride's a lot of fun. And actually, in Disney World, I actually really enjoyed the mine train, the Seven Dwarfs. That was a fun one. That was really fun, actually. You just hit the ground running. You get in it, boom, it goes. You know, it's like there's no foreplay in that one at all. Like they don't. It's just the minute you get in, it launches you. It's great. What about you, Slimer? What's your favorite? What are some of your favorite Disney coasters?
Okay, so in Disneyland, it's Disneyland Space Mountain. It's so much better than ours. Like it's not even close.
Yeah.
Especially when it's Hyperspace Mountain. My mind was blown. I was just like, holy shit! Like you guys, like what's that? I was just so disappointed after that. Like you go to Space Mountain in Magic Kingdom after you ride Disneyland, it's like it's ridiculous. But over here, Cosmic Rewind, it's probably my go-to Walt Disney World coaster.
Nice. What about you, George?
For me, definitely Disneyland Space Mountain.
Okay.
Definitely Disneyland's Big Thunder Mountain. Especially with the go trick. I love doing the go trick.
Yeah.
I love that butterfly in your stomach.
Well, and that's speaking of Cosmic Rewind. That's like Cosmic Rewind. Like the go trick is what Cosmic Rewind is. Like the whole time, because it's moving you, you get that same kind of go trick kind of sensation because your body moves with the G-force. It's a crazy experience. It really is.
Over at DCA, I do enjoy the Incredicoaster. I'm not a huge fan of like the overall theme of what they did with it. They basically just kind of slapped on Incredibles memorabilia, so to speak. But I just love the coaster itself because I am a coaster enthusiast. And then I agree with Slimer. Over at Walt Disney World, it has to be Cosmic Rewind. I mean, when I first rode that thing, it blew me away.
Yeah.
Were you hooked on the feeling, George?
I was hooked on the feeling.
That's good.
Mr. Matthew Moore, all the way from the UK, says, have you had any dreams about visiting Disney Animation in Burbank and coming face to face with various characters as after hours? Well, I have actually visited Disney Studios in Burbank.
I have too.
Yeah. I mean, have you been down there, Matthew, Slimer, the studio? Any tours or anything like that?
No, I have not. It's on my bucket list. I mean, it's not at the top of the bucket list, but it'd be nice to visit it one day.
It really is like, it's weird. It kind of sounds cheesy, but like it kind of is magical though. Like when you go, you can feel it in there. Like, dude, it's palpable. Like the energy, it's crazy. There's so much history there and stuff.
Dopey Drive, like standing on, like I actually have a photo of me, and oh god, I gotta find it. I wish I would have got my hair cut during that trip because all my photos, I come out looking like Shaggy from Scooby Doo. Like I could not stand that hairstyle that I had back then. But I mean, I had my picture taken on the street. We were in the animation research library. The Disney archives. We were in the voice recording studio, which we actually got our hand at reading some lines from at the time from Wreck-It Ralph because the movie was brand new. It was just released out in theaters, and it is more difficult than you would think. We even had animation to look at while we were reading the lines, and it was kind of difficult. And they said, think of how when they don't have animation and they just have to look at the words and they have to literally come up with saying, okay, how is this character speaking in this moment, and they have to channel that inner character, and it's a lot more difficult than, and that's also where I saw the premiere of Paperman as well.
Interesting. Yeah, I saw the new Mary Poppins movie there on the studio lot, Mary Poppins Returns, and that was a crazy experience because it was just like, that was like a Walt movie. Well, this one isn't a Walt movie, but it's a character Walt loved, and to see that on the lot was really cool. But man, I just love the Disney Studio lot. I tell you, if they sold annual passes to the lot, I'd buy one in a second just to go on there and walk around.
Me too.
You know, I absolutely love it. Alia, aloha. I'm only excited for the Rey movie if Ben Solo returns and/or Aboleth is the villainess for the movie. Ooh, the Aboleth as a villainess would be kind of cool. I love what Adam Driver did with that character, both as Kylo and as Ben Solo. I think he did a phenomenal job. I'm not maybe that like hardline with it, Alia. Like, I'm open to see what they have planned for it. Like, I'm not going to say definitively, like if they're not in it, I'm not going to see it or whatever. I just don't know. But I would love to see him return, though, Ben Solo. I think he is a fantastic character. I'm actually really upset he got yeeted off that cliff. And it's like, oh, gosh, he's such a good character. Like, you just redeemed him, and now you're going to kill him off. Like, see, that's the kind of stuff that's frustrating with Lucasfilm. Because that would have been a cool character to further explore in future movies. But now you killed him. Well, we think he died. I mean, if Darth Maul can get chopped in half and come back, maybe there's hope for Ben Solo. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know. What say you, Slimer? What's your feelings on this, brother?
I'm gonna go see the Rey movie no matter what. I've seen every Star Wars. I've seen every Star Wars in the movie theater. So why stop now? I mean, the villain's really not going to dictate whether I do or don't see a movie. I'm kind of hoping to go in a new direction with the villain. If they tie it into Abeloth, that's fine. I'm not crazy about Abeloth. Again, it's one of those Legends characters, which I didn't know about until people started talking about it and started speculating whether Abeloth was associated with Ahsoka.
Yeah. And it's kind of like almost like a horror character, which is like crazy, right?
Yeah, which is cool. I mean, I like that. I like horror movies, so here's the thing: they have to come up with a villain that's worse than the Sith. If there's a villain that's not as evil or not as big as the Empire, they got to kind of be a combination of the two. They have to be like Sith powers, but bigger than the Empire.
In a way, they kind of had that a little bit with Snoke. They could have stretched out that character very, very deeply because I was invested in that character. Like, I was like, when I finished watching The Force Awakens, I was like, in a way, I can't wait to continue the saga so I could find out more about Snoke. And it's like the way that they finished that character off, the way they killed him off, the way they kind of, I know JJ had no other way to do it, to kind of say it was a rendition of Palpatine in a sense, but I don't know. I thought it was just a great character created and performed perfectly by the very talented Andy Serkis that it to me, it got wasted.
There's a lot of good stuff in the sequel trilogy, a lot of cool concepts that were just the execution was where they were kind of falling. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I'm not even against bringing Palpatine back, but there were concepts around Palpatine where an acolyte, a Sith acolyte, found like a artifact or something that Palpatine's spirit was like trapped in, and he became possessed with the spirit of Palpatine. That character was actually going to be Matt Smith. It was supposed to be Matt Smith, and it was going to be Matt Smith possessed by the spirit of Emperor Palpatine. And I thought that was pretty dope because you can kind of play with that, right? Because you can have the Matt Smith character kind of fighting against Rey at the end, and maybe she kills Matt Smith, and Palpatine possesses her body or something dope like that. There's a lot of cool concepts that they were kind of playing with, but unfortunately, none of the directors were kind of like talking to each other with the sequel trilogy. So it just feels like it was just all over the place. And if it was mapped out from the beginning, they could have executed some of these ideas so much better. I don't know. And that's why I kind of want this other material. Maybe they can kind of address some of that stuff. Andrew Kellogg, do you guys follow space exploration like SpaceX Blue Origins? I don't follow them specifically, but I am into space. Talking to Maybe actually recently about the Miami aliens, the mall aliens. I think that kind of stuff is really interesting. Like, I think for sure, like, look, it's mathematically impossible that we're the only intelligent life in the universe. The universe goes on like seemingly forever. There's got to be another planet out there with intelligent life. That kind of stuff fascinates me. It fascinates me to like thinking about what kind of species are out there. Like maybe there's another planet out there.
It's called my ex-mother-in-law.
There you go. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, your ex-mother-in-law. But there might be a planet out there that still has dinosaurs. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of stuff kind of like blows my mind. So Andrew, I'm into this stuff like a lot, and I've actually been thinking about doing a video or even a few videos on this kind of stuff like space and like aliens. I think it's really fascinating. I just don't follow like SpaceX and all that stuff closely, but I'm into the topic though.
I remember I joined you on a video, OG. I think it was actually before I actually joined your channel.
Yeah,
permanently.
years ago.
You and I, we did a video like that talked about like different various like non-Disney, but kind of tied into Walt Disney, so to speak. And this was one of the topics with space and like the afterlife and dinosaurs and life beyond just our universe and what have you. We dived into that a little bit.
There was a show when I first started the channel. There was a show that was on here called Curiosity. And I haven't done a video for Curiosity in forever, but that's what it was. We would talk about aliens, dinosaurs, time travel, the afterlife, just all the nerdiest shit you could ever think of. You know, it was fantastic. We got to get back into that. We all got to talk. I would love to talk about that stuff. Now, actually, on the topic, Slimer, you saw the Miami Mall alien, right? Situation.
Well, I'm familiar with it. I haven't.
What are your take on that? Was it an alien or was it some hoax or where do you stand with it?
I haven't seen the video. The most recent video that I saw was the footage in Brazil that you posted of the two very large people on a mountainside taking pictures. You know which one I'm referring to, right?
The aliens that look like Cad Bane.
Yeah, the aliens look like Cad Bane. They were taking pictures on the side of a mountain. Supposedly they were very large. Andrew Kellogg, if you're really into that stuff, look up the TR3B. So the TR3B supposedly is a spaceship that is reverse engineered by one of these deep black agencies.
Is that the one that you were talking about, Slimer, where it looked like a normal spaceship on the outside, but then when they saw it inside, it was like huge in scope?
Oh no, that was
something
story
else?
I told you.
Something else.
Yeah.
Okay. I got it. Okay. Oh, that's right. That's right.
So you know the triangular ships they see over New Mexico and California and Mexico, the ones that have the three lights with the light in the middle.
Oh yeah.
And they're triangular shaped. Yeah. So some of those are fake, right? I mean, obviously there's a lot of footage out there, and a lot of it's fake because it generates a lot of attention, and they can monetize off of this crap. But there are so many accounts of what is specifically called the TR3B, and there's a lot of documentation associated with these reverse engineered craft as well. And these are anti-gravitational. They're quiet, silent. They don't use any jet fuel. There's a lot of fake videos of them, but I think there's some real ones too. I mean, like if you really look at the video objectively, not wanting to confirm the, without any biases or confirmation bias. I think that they're kind of hard to deny.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I think too, as far as the findings in Brazil, I think honestly that's probably why I mentioned this on Twitter, that D23 is going to hold their own expo in Brazil because they're just trying to get some sort of new material for Tomorrowland. They're just so desperate.
I know. They need help. They're going to ask the Cad Bane aliens. You know, what can we do over there?
The Cad Bane aliens. I love it.
Check it out on Twitter. I think I retweeted it. I mean, they look just like Cad Bane from the distance. It's hilarious. Danny Zach here says, did you hear about the new hotels they're building at SeaWorld Orlando and at Discovery Cove? Guess they're trying another one-stop shop in Orlando. Have you heard about that, Slimer?
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is something that is going down. I think SeaWorld is a largely overlooked theme park attraction. I love going to SeaWorld. I've gone a couple times recently in the last couple of years, and I don't know why we don't talk about it. Obviously because it's this is a Disney Channel, but SeaWorld just has some really fantastic offerings. And I think I mentioned to you during the Christmas time how amazing the Busch Gardens Christmas tree attraction was during the holidays. I mean, it was phenomenal. They had the entire park had so many Christmas trees, or Christmas lights rather. It was kind of mind blowing, like how it wasn't a silver lining experience for Christmas attractions during the holidays. But then again, that's kind of par for the course for the SeaWorld theme parks. They kind of fly under the radar, but they're also like kind of in the know too. So it's like if you go to them, you're just like, yeah, let's not tell anybody about this because we don't want to get too crowded. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a deep cut. Yeah, I like SeaWorld.
Yeah, it's a deep cut. Exactly. Yeah.
SeaWorld's great. SeaWorld's really fun. I like SeaWorld.
What about you, George?
It's been years since I've been to SeaWorld. I mean, I was a little tyke when I went, but I did enjoy it though. I did love all the aspects of SeaWorld. I wouldn't mind going back again. So I mean, the fact that if SeaWorld is making a comeback and trying to, finagle ways in its own right, is it ever going to be up to the same caliber and logistics of Disney and even Universal, or I would even say Knott's Berry Farm? Probably not, but I mean, if it can be successful in its own right, more power to them.
I have a good time. I have a good time going to these places that are not Disney because sometimes it's good to kind of separate yourself a little bit and try the new thing. Because Disney is so comfortable to me and so familiar with me. Yeah. So when I go somewhere new, it's like that rush of like adrenaline. Like, oh my gosh, I don't know where I'm going. I got to actually look at the map. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what's nice about the SeaWorld down here is like when you're on property, it actually feels a lot more like Walt Disney World than it does anything else.
Now, I've never been to the SeaWorld in either California or Florida. We had a SeaWorld. It was up in, I believe it was Ohio. But that one doesn't exist anymore. It closed. But,
crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. BJ Vincent here with a very interesting question, Star Wars related, asking, there are rumors of that Disney is coming out with a What If Star Wars series, similar to Marvel's What If series. From listening to YouTube channel Star Wars Theories videos on what if Order 66 failed? What if Obi-Wan brought Anakin back to the light in Revenge of the Sith, to name a few? Disney should have a field day with this and not screw this up. I don't think you can screw that up because it would be stuff that would not be canon. So you're not messing with anything. It's all hypothetical,
so to speak.
Right. It's what if. It's like what Daddy Josh says at the D23 Expo.
No, but they should be used to that.
Yeah, no, but in all seriousness, though, it's just for fun. So I would like to see a show like this.
Yeah,
I think it'd be really cool. Like if Anakin, went to the light at the end, that'd be great. What if Rey just went full Palpatine at the end? Like that would be, I want to see that. You know what I'm saying? Like fun stuff like that, I think it'd be really cool to dive into. So you could dip into that stuff without ruining the canon. I don't know. I think it'd be fun. What do you think, George?
Oh, absolutely. I'm all for it. I think honestly, it can kind of savor the flavor, so to speak, of the sour notes that a lot of the especially with the newer trilogy, where it's like certain aspects that you think, oh, I wish I could change or I wish I could see differently. Well, in that case, you could, and it wouldn't even hurt the main storyline because it's just all in good fun and what if. Yeah, I think it'd be great.
So would Anakin be called Anakin Blue Skywalker?
You're right, exactly. Blue Skywalker. That's great. I like that. Maybe here. I know I jumped ahead a little bit, but it was related to the SeaWorld thing. This is so funny. let's do a SeaWorld bingo sheet on things we might see on the ground. Did you guys
Yes,
see?
I did.
yeah.
Yes.
There was like a used condom somewhere at SeaWorld. I don't know where it was, but yeah, so she's referred to that. Yeah, that'd be pretty fun, actually. Bingo card, that's fantastic. Love that. Let me see here. Alia Aloha says, I hope Avatar replaces a lot of Tomorrowland. If DCA, the only way I see it fitting is if it's a film and adventure movie type experience. Yeah, and that's what I'm worried about. You know, I want the immersive Avatar that you guys got over there in Animal Kingdom. You know, I don't want the behind the scenes stuff. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I would want the actual. You know, and a lot of these theme park companies are moving away from that studio behind the scenes stuff. Even Universal, you know, you go to Universal Hollywood, yeah, you can do the tram tour and stuff, but it's mostly these immersive environments now. You're experiencing your favorite franchises basically. So you go into Super Nintendo World, you go into Harry Potter. You know, these are like, you know, you go into Simpsons. They're not really doing like that backstagey stuff anymore. Neither is Disney's Hollywood Studios. They're getting away from all that stuff. You know,
Nor Universal Studios.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Nor Universal Studios.
Right, exactly. A Coaster Crash. Do you guys think that Magic Kingdom will get Toontown back? What do you think, Slimer? Is it coming back?
Nah, I don't think so.
No.
Nah, I think they've moved on.
I mean, anything is possible. Disney can do anything, but in my personal opinion, they already had Mickey and Minnie's houses there. So to take them out and demolish them, to then just put money out to rebuild it, and I don't see it.
And if there was a time that they would ever even do that, it would have been in the decision making process for Wonder Railway. That would have been when they would have. Yeah. Okay, let's put Toontown or some version of Toontown. We could build this new ride there. That's where the money would have got. You know, that's where they would have got the money to do all that. But you already built the big ride in Hollywood Studios somewhere else. Very unlikely you guys ever see a Toontown. Very, very unlikely. Maybe says dream blunt rotation. She's referring to the curiosity topics, I think. The aliens, the afterlife, dream blunt rotation. Absolutely. Oh man, if you were high with those videos, I'm telling you, you trippy. Very, very trippy. Kaylee here says, how are your dogs doing tonight? My dogs are doing very well. Thank you, Kaylee. I love my little doggies.
Mine are fine as soon as I took my shoes off. Mickey's good. Yeah, he's very rambunctious, but he's staying warm because we had him outside for a very little bit, but we're getting like major freezing cold temperatures where it's like below freezing, and he couldn't even be outside for more than 2 minutes. Poor thing.
Oh
yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I hope you have like little sweaters for your dog and stuff.
We do. He hates them. Like he does not like. Oh yeah, he goes into protest. Like he'll go into like the corner and he'll just lay down and he will not move until you take the thing off of him. And then as soon as you take it off of him, then his tail wags and he jumps around and it's like he does not like it.
He has a temper tantrum. That's funny.
Yeah.
You know what every dog hates are those little booties.
The booties
on the feet. I think it messes with like their I think they like their
pads.
Paws, like
pads.
Yeah.
I see like out here in California, especially, dude. You go to all these outdoor malls and stuff. All these like people got like their dogs with like little shoes on and stuff, and the dogs walk all funny now. You know, because they're not used to it and stuff. It's like, why do you do that to your poor dog? But I don't know. I mean, it's maybe some dogs like it, but I haven't seen one yet that seems to like it.
Childless adult behavior.
It always like every time I see like a dog wearing those, it always reminds me of the scene in Air Bud when he brings Buddy out, like, and he's in the basketball uniform with the little sneakers, the little shoes, and he's like trudging along. Which, by a fun fact, anyone knows the original Air Bud movie with the dog, that is the same dog that played Comet in Full House.
See what I'm saying? George knows all this stuff, man. I tell you, we had that show with Jay Shearer when you busted out the first and last name of the editor from Jaws. I was like, how do you know that? That is so funny. Kaylee here says they can put Toontown in Hollywood Studios. That would actually be a pretty cool idea. I wouldn't mind that. I mean, if they're going to do it, that might be the spot to do it.
Yeah, and then Muppet Square.
Right? And then she said, but a bigger and better version and not a copycat of Disneyland. Interesting. Interesting. And then Matthew says, sorry for the number of questions around the same subject. Matthew, you never have to apologize.
You're good. You're
Yeah,
good, brother.
You can ask as many questions about any topic that you want. No worries, brother. Don't even stress over that.
Yeah, you're good. And we promise you, we won't even charge you for it.
Yeah, we won't even charge you for it, you know? Ali Aloha, if Avatar ends up in DCA and not behind the scenes, I wonder if they'll change the name of the theme park from DCA to something else. If so, any guesses? Yeah, we got a similar question earlier, I think, from Kaylee.
I don't think we actually gave
the
any
names,
suggestions. Though. Yeah, we didn't.
So what would you do, George? What would it be? Disney what?
I would still keep adventure in it.
So just Disney Adventure? Maybe Disney Cinematic Adventure and just a bunch of IP?
That's not bad. Because it's still covering all. Yeah, but then again, it doesn't. But then it doesn't do anything for Grizzly Peak. It doesn't.
Yeah, that's the problem.
See, I don't know. See, I still think. That's why I'm sorry. Avatar does not belong in DCA. It just can't, because what you're doing is you would then change the title of the park to fit Avatar, but then it's taking away the certain aspects of what's already
of other
in the
areas.
park.
Yeah, it kind of becomes a mess. You know what I'm saying? Which is, I don't know why they really need to do our Coco idea. Come on, give us a Coco land at DCA. I mean, the Latin culture is perfect for that park.
They even have Coco restaurants in Disneyland Paris, so why they can't have it in California, where it makes more sense?
They're gonna have a Coco themed restaurant on the Disney Treasure on the cruise ship. It's like,
it's crazy.
I don't get it.
Go ahead.
I like this question right here by Christian S. right above Kaylee.
Oh, interesting. Thoughts on the 1998 Mulan parade? You guys think Disneyland can still produce that kind of parade? Go ahead, Slimer. What are your thoughts on that, brother?
Well, I don't remember the 1998 Mulan parade. I can watch it and get back to you, Christian, if you like. However, yeah, they can absolutely produce these kinds of parades. Look at the nighttime parade over in Tokyo Disney Sea. It's phenomenal. But they won't. I think that they're beyond it. I think that, parades like Spectro Magic are behind the creatives. If I were a creative, personally, I would try to push the envelope when it came to the amount of creativity that I can tap into to create new experiences for guests. So it's like, while they can, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they should continue. I like the electrical parade as well. Again, it's a product of the 70s, and while the new drone show pays homage to the electrical sky parade, they are using new technologies to push these experiences to newer limits. Otherwise, it's just going to be same old.
I was just gonna say, and Kaylee actually beat me to it, I loved those kind of parades that showcased and promoted the movies that were just coming out. So you had like the Lion King parade, you had the Mulan parade, you had the Toy Story parade, the Hercules parade, Aladdin parade. I loved those individual parades, and I thought it was showcased very well that majority of them were at Hollywood Studios, because at the time it was a studios heavily themed studios park, where they still had the animation building there. They did a lot of private screenings and previews and what have you, which they still do at time to time, where they showcase inside of the Walt Disney Presents theater at times and everything, and they still have like billboards up and posters and everything. But I absolutely loved the individual parades that they had that was based off of the movies that were coming out for the year.
And they had those real recently, even with Star Wars, when they acquired Star Wars and the new movies were coming out.
Yep. And I did miss this one, Matthew. I do apologize, sir. Matthew says, I know I'm fixating quite a bit on Once Upon a Studio, but do you think Disney would have bought my changes if they were proposed in pre-production, or would they veto the changes made in version 2.0? Yeah, they might have, Matthew. I mean, you had some really great changes here, in your concept, and we're going to share that on the 19th. But you had some really great ideas. So yeah, absolutely a possibility. Teo here says, "What's your favorite restaurant on a Disney cruise line?" What say you, George?
I have no idea. No.
I think Palo was my favorite, though. To be food wise, I think that was my favorite.
Food wise, actually for me, I don't know if you had eaten their OG. So was Remy for me.
Okay.
Paolo and Remy, as far as food wise, best quality food. Paolo, phenomenal Italian cuisine. Remy, phenomenal French cuisine. They had these. I don't even know what they would call them. They were like starters. They were these little at Remy. They were these little tomato soup balls. So they actually were kind of breaded cheese crusted balls, and inside they injected tomato soup.
Oh, that's crazy.
It is crazy.
That sounds
It's a basically an hors d'oeuvre. It's a one bite hors d'oeuvre. And it was just phenomenal. I could have eaten a whole plate of those.
So I got to ask you this because Kaylee's gonna want to know too.
Yes.
Do they serve San Pellegrino over there? Because if they don't, I can't eat there. I'm a Pellegrino guy. You know what I'm saying?
They do? Yeah, they did. Oh, yeah,
I'm in.
yeah.
I'm
yeah,
in.
You're
in.
good.
No.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, you're good there, bro.
Yeah.
I got a question for Tayo here, OG, if that's okay.
Yeah. Which one? Which one are you doing?
All right, so this is Tayo said in response to me saying, giving some pushback against my comment about the parades. Tayo says, please, we're starving for a nighttime parade here at WDW. Okay, I do agree with that. And Tayo, chime in, please, because the problem with doing a nighttime parade in specifically Magic Kingdom right now is the fireworks shows have gone so popular that people start staging for the fireworks show 2 hours to 3 hours prior to the actual show. That's problematic if you have a nighttime parade within any proximity of the fireworks show. And then in the wintertime, when it starts getting dark, around 5 to 6 o'clock, that's probably the only time you can do it because it's already nighttime by like 5 to 6. So you could do a parade show earlier in the evening, which will give ample time for people to get ready for the fireworks show immediately after, let's say Spectrum Magic, if they brought it back. And then, you could have the fireworks show. But the problem is most of the year, it doesn't start getting dark till about 7 or 8, which is when people start staging for the fireworks show. So that being said, where would you bring the parade back to? Would it be Magic Kingdom? Would it be Spectrum Magic 2.0? Or would you like to see something at one of the other parks, be it Hollywood Studios or Animal Kingdom?
Yeah.
So that's the question, because that's the problem. The fireworks shows didn't used to be this popular, and that's why the parades were able to coexist with them.
I do agree with you, Slimer. I feel like, honestly, with the amount of crowds that are in the parks now, if it's such a build up just for the fireworks, to tie in a parade with it, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm craving a nighttime parade as well, especially at Walt Disney World. Like, I just miss it because I grew up with seeing a parade, whether it was a day parade or a night parade. But I do see where a lot of the havoc could be, because then you would be ending with a night parade and then transitioning into fireworks, or vice versa. I do know there were times where they would do it like the nighttime parade, then fireworks, and then do a second showing of the nighttime parade after the fireworks. But I mean, I think it would be kind of cool if they did it in Animal Kingdom. The only problem is the park's not open long enough for them to have a nighttime parade.
Yeah, Peter would have a fit.
I would, yeah. I absolutely loved it. It wasn't like a full-on parade, but I loved Tapestry of Nations that they had at Epcot during the Millennium Celebration, which eventually became Tapestry of Dreams. I just loved the storyline, the symbolic terms of like world culture and unity and what have you. But I mean, yeah, I definitely they need to bring the parades back, because it is quintessential Disney in the parks. But I do see your technical logistics behind of how they would have to kind of work that around with the fireworks now, especially because crowds and popularity are high demands right now.
Yeah, for sure. You guys don't have the electrical parade over in Disneyland anymore, do you?
Not anymore. We had that not this summer, but I believe the summer before. Yeah, and they gave us a new float, kind of. They took the American flag float with the giant eagle, and they turned it into what was like Small World, right, George? And a celebration of like all these different countries. It was actually really cool. I love the electrical parade because it's something that like I used to watch with my late grandmother, and I just that parade they can trot that thing out. They can dust it off all they want. I'll always welcome it.
Which I'm for sure they're still going to do it, because if they ended up revamping that one float for like the Mary Blair style kind of It's a Small World, incorporating Disney IP, to just bring it for that short amount of time and not ever utilize it again, I can't foresee them.
They'll bring it back. Yeah. They'll bring it back. Kenzie's Fairy Tale here says, which of the 4 Disney parks do y'all want to visit the most? Tokyo.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the best one. I mean, but actually though, I'm very curious about Hong Kong. I think what they're doing over there, it's a small park, but a lot of interesting additions with the Frozen stuff lately. I really want to ride Mystic Manor. I mean, that ride looks incredible.
Another close second for me, anyways, after Tokyo would be Paris. Because I would love to see the Disneyland Paris Castle. I would love to see the electrical sky parade in person. I would absolutely. But of course, too, I would also love to see Hong Kong, like what they're doing with Frozen, and as you mentioned, OG with Mystic Manor and what have you. I just think honestly, but Tokyo, man. Like, that is like top notch, like creme de la creme.
Yeah, absolutely. BJ Vincent here says, after Tom Corliss from WDWNT announced that Disney's PR extending an olive branch to him and WDWNT, this shows to me Disney respect constructive criticism and not overly hostile comments from folks. Yes, that is correct. That was good of them to extend that olive branch out. You want to have various voices in the room. You don't want to have just people that are just going to praise everything. I will say this though, a lot of people are saying like, well, Disney should do this, and I agree that they should have people that are critical in on that media list. But how come I don't ever hear anything? I don't see any critical voices from the media lists over at Universal. I don't see very many people that cover Universal. It seems to be overly positive. I don't see a lot of critiques there. Is Universal implementing anything where they're having people on their media list that come back and say, hey, that wasn't great? I just don't see a lot of pushback from that side of the fandom. I don't know. I could be wrong, but overall though, I do think that you want to have, regardless of what you think about Tom, you know what I'm saying, on a personal level, whatever, I think what you want to have is a variety of opinions. You don't want to have this perception that you're just going to shill for the mouse. You want to have people that are critical, that have been historically critical, and you're welcome to that. There's nothing wrong with that, and I think it's healthy. What are your thoughts on that, Slimer?
No, I agree with you 100%, because the people that have legitimate complaints are the ones that are going to help you improve your product.
Right.
I mean, that's the whole basis behind NPS scores, exit polls, reviews, questions, comments, concerns, as George would say.
Questions, comments, and concerns. Yeah.
But if you build relationships with like Tom Corliss over at WDWNT, who by the way probably has the most non-Disney, like actual corporate window into the parks. The way he bridges the Disney fan base with the actual company itself. I mean, that's invaluable. I mean, the fact that he hasn't always been associated with Disney media is just beyond me, because of how connected he is with everybody. Like they can use Tom as a conduit to anybody within the Disney community. So
yeah, it was interesting. I remember when Bob Chapek was still around, he actually had a dinner or something with all the creators. Do you guys remember this? This was like in the Chapek era, and there was a lot of like various different like vloggers, and he had like a dinner with them. I think like Dusty from Mice Chat was there and things like that. I thought we were kind of seeing the beginning of something kind of like with that. You know what I'm saying? Like there was going to be a little bit more of an open door, and then it just kind of stopped. And I guess with all the shakeups at the company, with Iger coming back and all that. But yeah, it's good to see. You're gonna want people in the room that are willing to criticize you. You know what I'm saying? You don't want a bunch of yes men. You want people to say, hey, Disney, that's not working. And again, like what BJ is saying, it's all about constructive criticism. There are people out there that just hate everything the Mouse House does. You know what I'm saying? Everything sucks. Everything's the worst. And those people, not even worth listening to. You know what I'm saying? But the people with honest, constructive criticism, hey, that's not working, Disney. You can do this better. That's always welcome. And they should absolutely have that as part of the equation. George, any final thoughts on that before we move on to our next topic?
No,
Or next question?
you both touched upon exactly what I was going to say. Constructive criticism is it's very healthy, and you don't want to have someone who is a poison of negativity. You know, there's certain ways of how you have to approach certain things, but then you also don't want someone who's a softie that just constantly says, you know, oh, this is good, this is good, this is good, because you don't learn from it. You don't grow from it.
Exactly. You learn more from your failures than you do your successes, to be honest.
Exactly.
That goes for
100%.
right.
And Walt Disney
100%.
himself was a prime example of that. You know, he learned from his mistakes. You know, he dusted himself off, got up, and reworked what he had to, you know, what he was facing. You know, many different obstacles and risks and what have you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Christian here says, what if they close the Monsters Inc. ride at DCA and replace it with the Great Movie Ride? Thoughts? Oh, geez. Yeah, bring it. Yeah, bring it. Like, I mean, I would sign off on that.
Put it in somewhere. The Great Movie Ride just needs to be somewhere in a Disney park.
Yeah. Oh, wait, hold on. I missed Teo. I'll get to you, Michael, in a second. I do apologize. Teo here says, I get that completely, Simon. Magic Kingdom is a destination park, and with it comes with its pros and cons.
Referring to the parades.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And the Ebinator says here, I forgot, will Epic Universe have any nighttime shows? I believe so. They have that big, massive, which actually looks really cool, that massive fountain in like their hub area. This thing looks massive, dude. Massive. And I think it's going to be like a World of Color style show from what I've heard. So I think that will be pretty awesome. Absolutely. It's funny. Like I'm like really nerdy when it comes to this stuff. Like that. I'm like more interested in than a lot of the rides for some reason. Like that fountain looks dope. I like that looks really cool. Yeah. I don't know.
No, that's really interesting. Ebba, have you ever seen the have you ever seen? I guess have you ever seen the nighttime water show that they have at Universal Studios where they blast the water out of the lagoon and then they project the movies onto that? Very similar to Fantasia or World of Color. Is that
Cinemagic? Or
something like
cinema,
that.
Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
They
World of Color-ish.
Yeah, it's very, very World of Color-ish. They do it for Halloween Horror Nights, and it's great. I love their Halloween Horror Nights rendition because, you know, I love horror. So like anytime horror gets its, you know, it's time to shine. I'm like.
Michael Ebba here says, any news on the hotels for Universal Hollywood? Okay, so the last I heard is the hotel that's going to go in the entrance where, like, you know where the bag check is at Universal Studios Hollywood? That parking lot, I heard that a hotel is going to go there, and that's going to be the first one they're going to do. That's the last I heard. That was a couple months ago, though. So I'm not sure if that's still the case or not. Michael Ebba, I think that's the case, but I would actually reach out to Theme Park Wizard in the DMs and ask him, or Universal Core, because they would definitely know. They're tuned in, tapped into all the Hollywood Universal stuff. But from what I heard, that hotel in that parking lot right across from the bag check is going to be that first hotel.
If they don't name it Bates Hotel or Bates Motel rather, that would be a huge missed opportunity.
Oh man, I'm telling you.
Yeah, come on.
Absolutely. Well, I got to give Universal credit. One of the parking structures over here is called Jurassic Parking. I thought that was clever.
Perfect.
Come on, chef's kiss. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I love it. So easy.
Well done. Kaylee with 2 E's and a hibiscus flower says, is the OG55 post and pre-show behind a paywall? It's currently not, but maybe we should do that, George.
Maybe we should.
I'm telling you, some of the pre-shows are pretty spunky.
Yeah, I don't know if you all can handle this.
It's like Skinemax.
Oh, I'm telling you, man.
No, we're just kidding. It's not like Skinemax.
Skinemax. Oh,
what are you kidding, bro? I'm already halfway there.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the post show.
Yeah,
that's the post show. Yeah, that might not be a bad idea. Like maybe we could do even like a
You've always talked about like an after dark kind of.
Or like it'd be fun, like a members only,
Yeah, that'd be
like we can
cool.
just talk about whatever,
Yeah.
We kind of do that a little bit on the Bad Thoughts podcast with those guys,
Yeah. If we do decide to do that, everyone would probably have to have you sign a waiver before you join.
Waiver. Yeah, right. Exactly. Oh, George. The Ebinator says, "I have not seen that. I've seen Waterworld, and that's dope. Yeah, Waterworld. At Universal
Waterworld is
Hollywood.
oh man,
It's
perfect.
It's fun. It's so classic Universal with the explosions and stuff. It's like so bombastic.
You talk about like a great live show.
Yeah.
Is like, I'm sorry, I give credit where credit's due. Waterworld is, and the movie completely sucked.
Right.
But I mean, like, oh god,
Yeah.
but man,
Kaylee.
that show, man, is awesome.
Yeah,
Or an NDA.
That's good. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh man, that'd be so funny. Oh jeez.
Look at Maybe's comment right after that.
Let me see, maybe's. Kaylee, imagine they turn off the lights and there's LEDs. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that would be hilarious.
Oh, God.
That'd be hilarious, dude. So good, so good. BJ
Oh,
Vincent. We're gonna have to do a post show or a members chat or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
that's just.
Hey, they're asking for it. We got to give it to them.
Come on, I'll have the OG55 on staff lawyer, write up those NDAs. we'll make it happen, Captain. We'll make it happen.
That's great.
BJ Vincent here says, after Tokyo, Disney replaced the Grand Circuit Raceway to make way for Enchanted Tale of Beauty and the Beast. Would you like Walt Disney World, Tomorrowland Speedway, and or Autopia Disneyland to be replaced with a superior ride? Well, for Disneyland, absolutely. I've been advocating for that. That Autopia takes up way too much real estate and is way too outdated to justify its existence. It's even if you did electric cars, that's still not the future. Like everyone drives electric cars now out here in California, at least. Everyone's got a Tesla and stuff. So I'm okay with getting rid of Autopia. I know our friend Dave at Fresh Baked, he would not agree with me on that. That's fine. There's a lot of nostalgia wrapped into that ride. It is an opening day attraction, so I get it. For me though, when you're low on space and that thing takes up a lot of it, I think you can make better use of the area. But what do you gentlemen think about Florida's version?
Go ahead, George.
I personally thought it was dead in the dust when they announced where Tron was going to go. And I thought, it perfect. Thank God it's gone.
Right. Yeah.
Sure enough, no, it's still here. But but on that note, I am glad that Tron didn't really replace anything. I know partial of the track got cut down a bit for some of the walking path and the restructure of the train and everything for Tron. But I am glad to see that Tron was just built without replacing anything. I will say that on a serious note. But as far as the Speedway goes itself, I'm ready for it to go, honestly, on both coasts. Right. There is so much land, there is so much real estate that can just be used up just that chunk of an attraction by itself, not counting the subs, the motorboat, and then for Walt Disney World, I mean, it's already big enough that, you could do pretty much anything there. I'm ready for both of them to go, to be honest.
What about you, Simon?
I think, honestly, really quick before you jump to Slimer, I think it would benefit more of Disneyland to remove the Speedway than Disney World, because I feel like...
you mean Autopia at Disneyland?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Autopia at Disneyland than the Speedway.
Like, how dare you call it the Speedway?
Yeah. Autopia. Man.
So uncivilized.
Dave is probably jumping up out of his seat right now. Autopia at Disneyland and the Speedway at Walt Disney World, because I feel like that there is more that can be fleshed out for Disneyland.
Right.
As far as like an expansion, where I think with the Speedway at Walt Disney World, you're probably only looking at like replacing one ride for another.
Right. Yeah.
But go ahead, Slimer.
Yeah, I mean, Autopia, despite the fact that it's an opening day attraction, takes up a lot of prime real estate, unfortunately. Yeah. You know what I mean? And same thing with Speedway over here. Speedway is, it's by Starlight Cafe, which has improved its burgers recently, quite dramatically. But man, it's just such a relic of the 1970s. It's unignorable. Then you have it right there next to New Fantasyland and Dumbo's Flying Circus area. It's just this mishmash of different eras of Disney Imagineering. It just doesn't blend very well. I personally would like to see Tron being expanded. I do like the Tron aesthetic, the architecture. I do think that that does fit with Walt Disney World. The problem with it now is that it's isolated by itself, and it's kind of Tomorrowland, but also kind of not. And it also, and I've said this in posts before, but it does make the existing Tomorrowland feel really antiquated because it's right there next to it. And so like it's this thorn in Tomorrowland's side that says, this is what you could be, but this is all you're going to get. So if they can convert the Speedway into a Tron ride, maybe, with the bicycles, the neon lights, everybody loves the neon lights, right? But if they can kind of bring that aesthetic, the Tron aesthetic, especially with the neon, over into an updated version. I mean, obviously flatten it, build something new, but I think that for them to do something like that, though, they would have to wait until the new Tron movie was released, see how well it does, and then go, with that decision from there.
Yep. Well said. I agree with you. I love the Tron aesthetic. You can extend that all the way out, and that would be just gold for them. I think that's amazing. That's the way to go. Really is. Christian here says, went to Hong Kong Disneyland last December. Frozen Land was amazing. Frozen ride was perfection. We thought the sliding sleigh ride was going to be fun due to the long wait time. It was disappointing. Finished too fast. Yeah, it's a kid ride. I mean, it's kind of like the Gadget Go Coaster out here in California, but just way better themed, obviously. I mean, the Frozen one, the views from that coaster are absolutely insane. But those kiddie rides are going to be short like that.
Which I thought that it would have been in comparison to the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, but a lot of people that have been on both have said it's way shorter than Mine Train.
Check it out on YouTube. It's like 20 seconds. Like, you're not even kidding you. It's like 20 or 30 seconds. Yeah, it's really, really short. Really, really short. Benjamin Schaefer, what would you want to see added to Disneyland Forward? We've said this a few times, but I would want... actually, I don't think I've ever said this before on this channel. I would want Westcott over there. I would want... It's a running joke here, Benjamin, because I bring it up almost every video. I would want Westcott to be put in a Toy Story parking lot. Toy Story lot is about 75 acres. The Westcott would be a perfect spot for that.
Can you imagine? Because they just started, and I just now realized I'll actually be down there for the first time in forever. No pun intended. For the arts festival at Epcot.
Oh, nice.
That adding Westcott out in California. Can you imagine having all those different kind of festivals and stuff like that? It's like it's California money. Of all places. Come on.
With the locals culture we have here, the drinking around the world stuff and all that would be just money. I don't know why they don't jump on that.
You gotta give that the drop for Westcott. You got to give it a money drop.
Oh, a money drop for Westcott? Yeah, absolutely. Money drop. I mean, Westcott would be just straight money, bro. Straight money. I got my mind on my money and my money on my mind. Yo, it ain't really work if you're proud. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, Benjamin, I would love to see Westcott, a third park. I would love to see maybe in the Simba lot, maybe like a Latin land for DCA. You can have Coco in there. You can do a lot, I think, with Latin culture and DCA. So stuff like that, I would like to see come to our resort. So yeah, we're gonna have the vote for Disneyland Forward. I think it's coming up like in March. Ish around there, and I think we're good to go. I think we're good to go, Benjamin. I do think that's going to get approved. I think Disney has handled it much better this time around with how they've been less confrontational with the local businesses and things like that. So I think we're gonna get what we want here with this one.
Do you think they'll touch upon a little bit of where they're at during the quarterly earnings? Because the quarterly earnings is just like a month shy of the vote. Like, I wonder if they'll touch upon it.
They might
maybe kind of have a mindset where they can't necessarily say yes or no because they wouldn't have voted on it, but maybe they would still have to be in talks prior to that just to kind of get a headspace.
In February, right? The next quarterly call. I think it's like February 8th,
February 8th, I think, yeah.
They might, but they might not want to like show their hand either,
True.
They might not want to be like, yeah, it's a done deal. And the city is like, oh, is it? Okay. Oh, we'll see.
That's true. Like at the last minute, they wouldn't probably want to like jinx themselves with it.
Yeah, but what they might do, because we have the quarterly earnings call this February, right? In a few weeks. But in March is the annual call. Now that, I don't know the timing.
There we go.
I think it's in March. It's
always... March or April, right?
It's something like that. But for that one, if they've already voted on it and it's approved, then we might see they might put some meat on them bones. It gives a little more detail. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that would be interesting. Kaylee here says, like I said before, a nuclear bomb could hit the Magic Kingdom and the Speedway would still be standing. Oh, so true. So
she
true.
did. Yeah, she did actually mention that before.
Yeah.
That was like hilarious.
Oh, it's
And
so
and
true.
I actually responded and I said that the fumes would create a force field around it.
That's great. That's fantastic. Fantastic. Let me see here. Okay, we got Michael Ebba, and we're gonna start wrapping it up pretty soon, everybody. But we're gonna do a live show again very, very soon.
Yeah.
We love doing these, so we'll do it. Next few days probably. But the Ebanator here says for Tomorrowland, I'd love to see them put some original IPs in there. Really bring the future to tomorrow. Work with physicists, astronomers, engineers, and astrophysicists. See, you're really testing my reading. My reading. This 3.5 hours into these live shows, Ebba. 100K years in the future. Yeah, no, dude, that would be awesome. That would be absolutely awesome.
Yeah,
I would love to see that. I'm always down for stuff like that. Do you think Agrifuture is still relevant in Tomorrowland? I mean, I guess. But the problem with the Agrifuture kind of element, in my opinion, for that Tomorrowland 98, it just felt very dystopian to me.
Yeah.
Like, it felt very like, I don't know, like very like, like post-apocalyptic, like we have to grow our own food now because we don't have like fast food anymore. I don't know. It just gave off a weird vibe to me. It always has. Kind of strange. Tayo here says, George, are you getting the popcorn bucket?
Yes.
Yes,
okay. I am.
Oh, that was quick.
Yes,
bro.
I saw that.
You've thought about this.
Oh, man, I did my research on it and everything. I did like a 360 degree of that thing. It's really cool. It's a new Figment popcorn bucket, which you know how the first one went, but this one's very unique. It's actually Figment inside they actually sculpted the shape of the building of the Imagination Pavilion. And it actually lights up and it changes different colors and yeah, so it's looks really cool. Absolutely. I'm definitely getting that popcorn bucket.
So, George, I got an idea. All right, hear me out.
Okay.
So, once you get the popcorn bucket, you're going to wear it around your neck like
Okay.
Flava Flav, and we're going to do a music video.
There we go.
Okay. You know, I've
Dude.
never turned down a challenge, bro. I never turned down a challenge. We're going to do it. We're going to do it.
Oh, we're so going to do it. We are so going to do it. I got a little music for you, George. You know what I'm saying? I got the
Yes.
big. Oh, it'd be great. It'd be great. Perfect. Perfect.
I'll put
Hey,
that, I'll put
OG's
that on
already
you.
got in his mind.
Yeah.
He's already...
It's
Where
going
you
on
got
my
it?
Instagram.
Instagram. That's great. Kalani here says, I like that. Kalani, a nice name. Westcott would be awesome. My favorite park in Disney World is Epcot. Yeah, I'm telling you, Westcott out here would be amazing.
Yeah.
It's smart. It's a smart decision, and I don't know if Disney will ever do it.
All right,
Probably.
hear me out, guys. You know what park would be awesome out there?
What?
Scott.
Westcott, yeah, exactly,
Westcott,
exactly.
yeah.
Westcott, I know, right? That perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Mr. Seymour Duck is in the house. We love Seymour Duck.
What's
Check out the
up,
video.
Seymour?
Seymour's in the house. We did a great video with Seymour yesterday about the Nintendo expansion coming to Universal Orlando. Great video, great conversation with Seymour. We also dip into the animation with Pixar, Disney, and like Illumination, and the box office and all that good stuff with him. Really, really, really good stuff. So make sure you check that out. But Seymour, yeah, he chimes in here saying the annual meeting is March, April. So
Okay.
it's that. So if it's more April than March, then they might give us some detail on Disneyland Forward, because by then it would have already been approved. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
So pretty cool stuff. Oh, and Seymour, I do want to mention, by the way, I am working on a drop for you, a Seymour Duck drop. So when you come on the channel, and we got like a little special like Nintendo Duck thing just for you. So I'm working on it. It'll be a little bit before it premieres, but it's in the works. Absolutely. Benjamin Schaefer here says, what country would you want to see Disney build a new resort in? See,
At this point, Brazil seems like the
spot, right?
lead contender. Yeah.
Yeah, because
South
I mean
America.
they're kind of putting all their their like cojones into Brazil, like to actually like host a D23 event there.
Yeah.
And again, I mentioned this to OG many times. I think honestly of how Encanto keeps on being brought up and subtleties of Coco. I think honestly that's going to be like the headliner of that event.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You guys
Now,
can go. Oh, go ahead.
all right, go ahead, brother. While you do, so let me ask you this: would they build a resort in Brazil to keep the Brazilians out of Walt Disney World, or to bring Walt Disney World to Brazil? Because like, there's so many Brazilians that go to Walt Disney World. It's absolutely
See, but
ridiculous.
that's where it kind of it hinders of how it was like with Universal, you know, like
Yeah.
of how like the British, you know, come over to Universal Orlando, but that can now hinder the travel there because if they get their own Universal there, it's like it could help one way, but then it can like hurt another.
Yeah.
Right, right. I'm gonna show because we got a question here from maybe. I'm gonna show y'all a little something. Westcott related. Okay, so maybe to answer your question, how big was Westcott going to be again? Westcott was actually going to be in the old parking lot where DCA currently is. So it would have been in the DCA parking lot, and this is what it would have been like. So you would have had the spaceship Earth, you know, right there in the middle, like they have it at in Florida. You would enter through here and through here, and then all around here would be all the different continents of the world. So you would get Africa, Asia. So they would, instead of countries, they'd be continents. So that's pretty much what it'd be. And it was amazing. I mean, they had like people movers connecting the resort, like between this and like the new hotel they were going to build and Disneyland. They were going to expand the monorail system and everything. I mean, it's just an amazing, amazing thing. So yeah, it was supposed to be really ambitious. And basically what happened was, you know, Eisner, they did Disneyland Paris, Euro Disney, and it just kind of died a dog's death initially. And then a lot of these more ambitious plans got cut. And that's why we talk a lot about, right, George and Slimer, we talk a lot about with this Universal expansion, how risky that is. Because Eisner went full bore with that stuff. But once one of these places don't hit and they flop, it can change the whole trajectory about everything else.
Absolutely.
So, absolutely. And then maybe continues with Slay Seymour. Yeah, absolutely. Seymour is amazing. We love Seymour. He is awesome. And then final thing here, Mr. Seymour Duck says, Slimer, Ghostbuster and Luigi Mansion collabo when?
Soon, man. Soon. You know, did you watch that video that I sent you, Mr. Seymour? I think I just tagged it. I didn't actually DM it to you, but it was the Mario episode where Winston shows up to bust a ghost in you know, Luigi and Mario's apartment. And I gotta tell you, that's absolutely where they got the idea for Luigi's Mansion. I remember when I had a GameCube too, I was like Luigi's Mansion was like a brand new idea. I was just like, you mean Ghostbuster Mario? And I got it just because it was the only good Ghostbuster game at the time.
I had Luigi's Mansion on GameCube too.
What a good
Like,
game.
that was
Dude,
like,
what a good game, man. The GameCube was such a good system.
Oh, I love GameCube. I used to play Mario Party on that all the time.
Oh, so good. So good.
Great stuff. Benjamin Schaefer, this will be the last question of the night. But we will be doing another live show very, very soon. So, but Benjamin Schaefer here says, what country would you want to see Disney build? Oh, we answered this one already, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
And
did.
that's it. That's the show.
That's the show. Seymour Duck just got a great idea. Halloween costume. Luigi is a Ghostbuster. There you go.
That's it, man.
There you go.
Scratch 2 itches at once.
And really quick before we end the show, I'm just very curious in the chat if anyone was really paying attention to those fine Disney details. During this whole entire live show, I actually had my TV running on in the background playing Disney Plus. Through the whole entire show, there was 3 Disney movies that were actually playing. They were 3 Disney animated films. If anybody out there can guess what those 3 movies were in the order that I had them playing in during the live show, if ever we meet up at Disneyland or Walt Disney World, I'm buying that person dinner.
There we go. Okay, wait. Teo said Mulan, Little Mermaid.
Oh man, you're actually paying attention.
He was, but I think he might have came in late.
He came in late.
Yeah. Maybe says, oh, Seymour Duck says Princess and the Frog. Okay, this might be Seymour. You're off to a good start, Mr. Duck.
Let's see. I think Alia got it.
Oh, Alia got it. Yep, you're right. Alia got it. She got Princess and the Frog, Little Mermaid. Wait, no.
Did she?
No, that's not correct.
No,
That's
it
not the
was
order.
it was no,
That's
it wasn't.
not the
It wasn't.
order.
It wasn't the order.
No.
Wait, here we go.
Princess and the Frog. Well,
There we go. Kenzie's fairy tale.
Kenzie, I'm gonna go ahead and add. I'm gonna add my email in the chat, and if you're like out of state or something, we can send you something like a little something. So just email me, and we'll send you a little gift because not everyone's gonna be around the parks. You know what I'm saying? Or like in this area. So just send me an email, and we can go ahead and send.
We'll come up with something for you. Yeah, you'll get a little OG55 contribution prize.
85, and then maybe there we go. Says I need to watch Imagineering Story again, or maybe read it this time. Yeah, Imagineering Story is a fantastic watch, everybody. Fantastic watch. All right, we're gonna close it out.
Oh, hold on. Theme Park Casual. Dang, you guys are still going?
Oh, bro, we're still going, dude. We are still going, bro. Man, we are still going.
We do live chats like you do live Disneyland, man.
Exactly.
Around the clock.
Man,
he's going tonight, I think, too.
Is he? He's going tonight?
I think so. Yeah.
All right. Okay, everybody, check out Casual stream tonight. If he's going to Disneyland tonight, check him out. Support him. He does really fantastic live shows over there. He recently did a live show from Universal, his first time at Universal, and that was super interesting. So yeah, support Casual. We love Casual. He's family here at OG55. Show him all. Oh, he said not tonight. Not tonight.
Okay.
But still go to Casual's YouTube channel and subscribe to him because he does the live shows all the time. So
I would love to hear him come on and talk about his first time experience at Universal.
Yeah, you know what, Casual, if you're down, dude, like come on, like let's have you on and we'll talk about Universal. That's a good idea, Slimer. The four of us just like kind of talk shop. That'd be fun.
Yeah,
that'd be really, really fun. And maybe here says, what the fuck? There's a pop quiz at the end of these shows. Amy, I'm telling you. Gotta stay on your P's and Q's, you know what I'm saying? George always comes with the surprises, you know? All right, here we go. All right, so we're gonna end it with a drop. But I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We got Casual, Maybe, Kaylee, BJ Vincent, Matthew Murr all the way from the UK, Teo, Benjamin Schaefer, just everybody who joined us today and hung out with us. Glenn, just everybody. It was amazing. Seymour Duck, everybody here. It was a really, really good time. We will be doing another live show very, very soon, as we always do. But George the Italiano, if you could let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, definitely check out that drop with the Flavor Flav popcorn bucket little vid I'll be doing soon because I'm taking Slimer up on that challenge.
You should we should do that for sure, man. That's a great idea.
It's a done deal. That's all he had to say was like we're like Flavor Flav. It's like, oh yeah, we're doing this.
Boom.
And then, of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There we go. And down below, we got the one, the only Slimer. Slimer, if you could let everybody at home know where they could find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. Shameless plug on Twitter, SlimeSquare84. I post about Ghostbusters a lot. So if you follow me, I hope you're into it. If not, well... oh shit.
And all these dollars got commas that come with commas behind them. And all my slammers be slamming them. And all my slammers be slamming them. And all my slammers be slamming them. And all my slammers be slamming.
There we go. Thank you everybody for watching this episode of OG55 Live. We will be back very, very soon with another live show. Thank you so much for watching and supporting OG55. We're a small channel here and we do appreciate everybody. There are a lot of options out there in terms of like content on YouTube or what have you. So when you guys spend time with us and hanging out with us, it means the world to us. So thank you so much for all the support.
And really quick, if you're still watching Kenzie Fairy Tale, again, please email OG
Yes.
And we'll get through the details of possibly what your prize could be. So definitely make sure you have that email.
Yes, absolutely. And Kaylee here says, "See y'all on the post show." Tell you,
He's pushing for
man.
it.
We got to do those.
We got to do it, man.
The member only post shows. I'm telling you, they're coming. They're coming.
Right. We could call it hold on, we call it Orange Skinamax.
Orange Skinamax. There you go. Exactly. Exactly. Have a great night, everybody. Have fun. Bye bye now.
Like iced tea, I'm OG. Like iced tea, I'm OG. Like iced tea, I'm OG. I'm demon like IT. Got more juice than high C.